Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, good. Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Oops. Yeah, everything's good on my side.
All right, good.
Is there any echo when I'm talking? Any feedback?
Hey, Jason, can you hear me?
Oops. Yeah, everything's good on my side. Wait.
All right, good. That was my fault.
Echo when I'm talking? Any feedback?
I turned it off.
It's good on my side. Wait.
All right, good. That was my fault.
All right. Echo when I'm talking? Any feedback? Why the hell?
I turned it off.
It's like, wait.
That was my fault. What was that, you?
I just want to make sure. It's like, wait. Because I'm still hearing a feedback, but I just want to make sure. There might be something I can press. I'm still hearing a feedback, but I just want to make sure. Doesn't sound good.
Did you mute your YouTube page?
Let me check. That might be it.
Did you mute your YouTube page?
Let me check. That's probably better.
Yeah, that's better.
I'm supposed to be the experienced one with StreamYard. I'm on the other side. I'm like a newbie now.
I'll teach you.
That's okay. It. Man, it's freezing. It's so freaking cold. The pipes are frozen.
Really?
Yeah. With the wind chill, it was a minus 40, and now it's minus 50. If you throw a bucket of water, like just like this, it turns to snow before it hits.
That's Celsius, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much that would be Fahrenheit. Let me see.
Yeah, we just thawed out today for the first time. We've been down in the 20s for the last 5 days. 20s Fahrenheit.
That's Fahrenheit, right?
Yeah.
Let me do there's the change Celsius to Fahrenheit. Height. All right, so let's just say the minus 50.
Yeah, minus 50.
Does that make sense? Minus 58 Fahrenheit?
No, it seems like it would be less.
Yeah, right. If I put zero to, so 0 degrees Celsius where it freezes is 32, right? Fahrenheit?
Correct.
Okay. So how much Fahrenheit, let's say you are right now?
I guess that's like, 18? Negative 18?
Probably.
Fahrenheit?
Let's put the actual. Because if it's negative 30, it says negative 22 Fahrenheit is negative 30. So it's cold as hell.
Yeah, that's cold.
Yeah.
So when your pipes freeze, you don't drip the pipe. You don't put the water on drip or anything to prevent the pipes from freezing.
Maybe we should.
The pipes are already frozen, so they won't drip.
Yeah, I know. Well, now it's just stuck. I don't know.
Yeah, here on the homestead, when the pipes freeze, it can be a mess. I mean, thousands of gallons of water on the ground, and then difficult getting water back on because we're all self-contained.
Yeah.
Our water wells are here on site, and we're far from any town or city.
Yeah. No. Sometimes it'll unthaw. The weather at least it's like rarely this cold. I think I think they're announcing 2 or something. Yeah, soon they're announcing like something where it's like literally going to be like not even 0 for a day. So.
Pretty sure Sunday's supposed to be around -2.
Yeah.
The It's supposed to stay negative, but it won't be.
All right. Yeah. So just before starting, how many people have we got now?
We have 7 watching now.
7. Yeah. Maybe give a little more time before people start. But yeah, like since we're on the topic of the World Economic Forum and stuff like that, when I was talking with Jeffrey, the vegan there, Jeffrey Phillips, I was really surprised. Like he's totally like not concerned about the WEF. Was just like it's just a bunch of rich people talking. And I was like, I talked about Bill Gates. I'm like, hey, that guy's like in alternative meats and the plant protein. He's buying up lots of farmland. So I was like concerned, like, well, what's he going to do? Like, if he keeps on buying farmland, but he's not going to use it, like that's one of my worries. Like he's up to something. And he was completely like, Bill Gates is just a rich guy. I'm like, really? Like you didn't notice during the whole pandemic that he had like a little bit of influence and was kind of telling everyone in the world with Fauci what the hell to do. I don't know. Is that something? Have you ever spoken? Because I've spoken to the vegan at work. Same thing. Like totally like looks at you like with a smirk as if it's a conspiracy theory. Even when I was talking about like certain ideologies that the children are going through, and I was talking about certain surgeries and medications that they're being given. He was like, "What are you talking about?" Like totally unaware of what's happening in the culture.
Well, it's crazy that there are people from our generations that do not use the internet for anything other than Netflix and stuff like that. Email. They don't do any research whatsoever. They don't look outside of the mainstream media for their narrative, for their reality. And so, they're not getting any information on the WEF from their mainstream, their chosen. I hear some background noise of some kind messing with me.
From me, because I don't hear any feedback.
Okay, it's probably me somehow. I don't know what it is, but anyway, yeah, they live in it. They live 100% in the matrix, so to speak. They just don't. I have friends that they're not even vegan, and they won't consider that the WEF has any power. And there are other people online that, there are people in the anti-vegan community that won't speak to me anymore because I'm adamant that the WEF does have power and
of course,
and is influencing discourse around the world big time.
Well, I mean, we've gone over it, and is it you that has the video? Because you actually showed it on my live stream. All the partners and stuff like that. I mean, you can pop that up again. It's they should have a list of who's not included. It would be shorter. So what they think that they're just partners wasting and I think that to get into the World Economic Forum, maybe for individuals, it can be in the tens of thousands, but for corporations, it's in the hundreds of thousands that they give to this non-profit organization. And it's like, if you're giving that much to be part of the World Economic Forum. And on top of it, I kind of, when I spoke with Jeffrey, I was like, I'm not debating this guy. So I was trying to keep it cordial in that hour and a half that I did before the second part of the stream where you came on. And so I didn't want to get into it too much, but I think that the vegans are happy because what the World Economic Forum, what pretty much the larger corporations, everything that they're pushing for plant-based. They're actively, the mainstream is actively demonizing animal nutrition on health reasons and environmental reasons. So they're sitting back going like, wow, they're pushing the vegan agenda. Like, this is great. Like, that's because obviously for them, that's the most important thing in the universe.
Oh, for someone like Jeffrey? for someone like
Yeah.
Jeffrey. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know,
Yeah. I saw him deny that the powers that be want us to consume a plant-based or vegan diet.
yeah.
He was basing that on when he goes into the grocery store, all he sees is primarily meat and dairy. And the fact is that I think it's something like 74%
Yeah.
of everyone's diet, including US citizens and Canadian citizens, is over 70% ultra processed.
Yeah.
And ultra processed, the vast majority of those foods are plant based.
Mm-hmm.
So I know the USDA has published data showing that the American diet is 70% plant based and 30% animal based. And I don't think the US diet is much different, if it's different at all, from the Canadian diet. Yeah.
Yeah. There's just everyone's fat here. You know, I think you guys were ahead of us, but whatever happens in say we're very similar. Like the culture follows each other in the West and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I think that it's ridiculous because it's like, okay, well, where's the milk? Where's the meat and fish and stuff like that? It's just that outer section, right? And then you usually have the fruits and vegetables on the outer section. Well, what the hell's in the middle section? It's all corn, soy, and wheat and seed oils. So it's like,
Yeah. And now even the outer section is, the vegan. There's a vegan section, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
Even though people are buying that stuff.
They put the Beyond Meat and all that stuff in the meat section. I felt like that was a major trigger. Like I kept on looking at it. And I felt like could I be in the newspaper? Some guy just starts whipping the freaking like Impossible meat and Beyond Meat out of it. It's like it's right beside it. And plus, like I've seen even you go on PubMed and stuff like that, and there's psychological peer like reviewed study or published studies in the scholarly journals, and it's based on how to, like, one of them I saw was how to decrease meat consumption in males and stuff like that. Like go in there and search like studies on how to decrease vegetable consumption or fruit consumption or wheat or soy or corn. And Jeffrey also, he was kind of stuck on subsidies, you know, saying how like funded the dairy and the meat. And I'm like I said, I was trying to keep that very a somewhat relaxing conversation. It was like very carefully driving the conversation and, you know, letting a few things here and there go, or else like everything. I mean, obviously there's such an opposing view that it's a worldview, right? Hence why it's like culty religious and stuff like that, because you're peering through all of reality and redefining everything based on veganism. That's not a diet, and most vegans will say veganism is not a diet. You know, it's a belief. Yeah, you know, crazy. I should try and.
A way of life for some and a way of death for others.
Yeah, I was trying to I thought that I was being reasonable, you know, by trying to talk about how, you know, the food, the agriculture industry can be regenerative, and it can be incorporated with plants and even forestry, and really try and mimic as much as we can, return to the natural ecological cycle. I was talking about climate change. I mean, obviously, I'm very skeptical of it, and whatever it is, I don't feel that it's the crisis that they're trying to use to, you know, because they're always going to use some kind of crisis, you know, and then the media propaganda to push it, and then after they come up with a solution that benefits them and removes more and more power and stuff like that, is like the typical thing. So whatever climate change is, I like how long have they been monitoring that? Like, how long has science been able to really? I know that they can go like look at ice and all these special methods to say climate and stuff, but we haven't been tracking it, that long. I don't know. What's your opinion on climate change? Is it the crisis that it is, where we have to literally stop using fossil fuel and we don't even have alternative energy? What do you think? Is it a crock? Is it somewhat real? Is it a crisis, or are they just using this to affect mass changes for their benefit?
It's important to look at everything in context. If you go back to the 1970s, it was pretty well established that we are still coming out of an ice age. And so it would stand to reason that there would still be some warming to occur, because we're still coming out, we're kind of in the final phases of leaving what was an ice age. Yeah. However, back in the 70s also, they were predicting that there was going to be another ice age soon, and that we really needed to prepare for that. And then they started, they changed their narrative to now there's always got to be a crisis. And they changed from, there's going to be an ice age. Now there's going to be global warming. All of the ice caps are going to melt, and all of the millionaires who are buying up all of these multi-million-dollar mansions on the beach, even today, on one day, someone like Brad Pitt might say, we really need to do something about this global warming. Of course, Brad Pitt goes to these WEF meetings, but then the next week you see that he's purchased this multi-million-dollar home right on the water, looking the Pacific Ocean. So it doesn't make sense to one day be throwing the alarm that we're going to be drowning in ocean water, and the next minute writing a check for $100 million for a mansion on the beach.
Yeah.
However, I do think that there is something. I was going to say that when the warming didn't progress as fast as, say, Al Gore had predicted.
Yeah, I was going to mention
changed the narrative from global warming to climate change. Now, I have watched here in Texas. I have watched a creeping desertification. We haven't had warming so much as things are getting drier and drier. Meanwhile, there's a lot of strange things happening in the sky, contrails that last all day. Contrail literally means condensation trail. So when they say condensation, they're talking about water. And it's very similar to if you walk into the bathroom and take a shower, you come out, the mirror is, take a hot shower, the mirror, especially if it's cold outside, the mirror might be fogged.
And it goes away.
But it doesn't stay there all day. Or you could even walk over to the mirror and breathe some condensation on the mirror. But by the time you turn around to walk away, it's already dissipated. So contrails are like that. It's a condensation of water. And, I can think back in the 70s, you would never, ever see a contrail that would go all the way across the sky and persist. That's kind of, and some of them not only persist, but they grow into this big cloud looking thing. And hours and hours and hours later, that would be like walking into your bathroom and walking up to the mirror and making a little circle of condensation. You go to work, come back, and the entire mirror, in fact, the entire bathroom is now covered in condensation. And that's just not the way the science works. So what are they what are they spraying? Is it I read some things the other day that indicated that it might be insect chitin, which is the protein that the exoskeleton is made out of.
Okay.
Look into that. It actually causes blood clots if it gets into the bloodstream.
Imagine when we're eating the bugs and they're grinding
Yeah.
all that crap off.
Yeah, exactly. It's not. It's horrible for human beings. So I could actually see mealworms if you work with a meal. Have you ever looked at a mealworm? It's a soft-bodied. It's the pupa or the baby insect, the
It's like a
baby
larva.
beetle. So the soft body is not going to have that chitin. However, it does have a head on it that has an exoskeleton on it. So I can see if you chopped all the heads off of these mealworms, that the soft bodies could actually be nutritious and healthy meal.
There are cultures that
I
eat
see
bugs.
why it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
But taking crickets and grinding them up, including their exoskeleton, into a powder and consuming that, from what I'm reading, would be a major health hazard. But back to the climate
there's
change.
defense mechanisms for sure. I mean,
What's that?
There has to be defense mechanisms on these shells. I mean, just ladybugs, you grab them, they reek. Just, there's something like there's a warning there. Like you ever like squish a ladybug for some reason, like you forget and you go like this. It's like very distinct taste,
Yeah, there's no. I mean, the science behind eating insects, I think, has not been, unless the WEF has been doing that behind closed doors and they know exactly what they're doing, which is probably nefarious in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
But as far as the general public and the science that we have access to, the nutritional sustenance of insects is not well known at all. The science just isn't there. We don't know what kind of anti-nutrients might be there. We do know that the chitin that the exoskeleton is made of is not digestible by human beings, which is one of the problems.
It's like fiber. That'll be
that's
good, right?
exactly what they're actually listing it as, dietary fiber. And that will be good for us because it is dietary fiber. However, they are grinding it into nano-sized particles. So very likely that it can make it into the bloodstream, even though we're not able to digest it.
Talk about the chemtrails. Isn't there, they acknowledged, I think, aluminum as a way of
seeding clouds.
They've said that they can change climate as a like a war tactic and stuff like that. Like you said, the cloud seeding, create droughts in areas. I think I had heard, but I don't know if that's true, about aluminum. They put aluminum because it reflects the heat and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it wasn't Bill Gates talking about blocking out the sun with something, I think they were like these balls that could connect together and just, so that's like, I think there's a cartoon, one of the mad evil doctors, mad scientists and stuff, like trying to block out the sun and stuff like that. I'm like, these guys are like literally like movies, like the evil mastermind stroking the cat, like in Inspector Gadget or something. These guys are insane. But yeah, I think the vegan community, they're just like great. They're pushing plant-based veganism. Good. They're demonizing the animal food. They're on our side. Like they don't realize they're useful idiots, and in the end, they'll be just as screwed as anything. And like what I was trying to tell Jeffrey was like, I don't care if people are vegans, because in my mind, it's not sustainable. Some people last longer than others, but eventually you won't feel good. Or you know what? You can stay malnourished for the rest of your life. What do I care? You're the one making yourself suffer. But right now they're they're removing our choices. They're trying to remove the choices that we have, and that's why I speak out. That's why I have trouble holding, hiding my anger, like straight out want to like jump and strangle these people, because they're, I was taught when I was talking about like, well, we could do this as, with Jeffrey. Like I said, I wasn't trying to debate, but sometimes he was like, oh, that's conjecture. I'm like, yeah, I know, we're having a conversation. It was like he didn't want to know reasonable solutions and stuff like that. And what I find, go ahead.
I agreed to debate Jeffrey, and I'm certainly not going to back out of that. But I think the issue that I have with debates are that you've got two parties that are trying to win, and there's really not, a debate isn't, that you're not going to have one side of a debate who's there to learn.
No, of course.
When you debate someone, you're there to win the debate, and that could be you can win. Debates are won with information. They're also won with tricks. There's all kinds of debate technique and strategy to debate, and it's all about winning the debate.
Yeah.
So I've got the information on my side, so I'm not worried about winning the information part of the debate. Of course, I did try to run this by Jeffrey, because he had told me that because I told him, I said, I didn't do debate in high school or anything like that. How does this process work? And he said, it's kind of like a law, like a trial, where both sides have this, you have a stage called discovery where he's supposed to give me so many studies and I'm supposed to give him so many studies. But for instance, something like crop protection shooting, there are no studies on crop protection shooting. I can give him a video of crop protection shooting, or I could give him 100 videos showing crop protection shooting. But where would he allow crop protection videos as evidence? Would he allow 100 links to videos showing crop protection shooting going on as evidence? Or does it have to be some type of empirical evidence rather than a gargantuan collection of anecdotal evidence, which is, it's not like you can find some studies on crop protection shooting.
No, they don't want to know the answer anyways.
But there's lots of actual footage of it being carried out. And is it just going to be enough for me to give him one example? How many examples would someone like that require for them to finally say, yeah, you're right. That is a considerable amount of animal suffering and death that's occurring. And if I really care about animals, then it would make sense that I would make an effort to try to count those animal deaths and try to calculate that animal suffering. Because if you're going to shoot an animal in the face for wandering too close to the corn, then turn around and say, oh my God, you carnists are slitting the throats of animals just so that you can eat them. I can't believe that you're such a barbaric heathen. You're a monster. Oh, hold on. There's a deer in the cornfield. Okay, back to you slitting the throats of these animals and eating them. So it boils down, when you finally get down to brass tacks with these vegans, they don't care about the animals. They don't care about animals suffering. They don't care about animals being tortured or dying. What they care about is that no one eats those dead animals. That's what they really care about, is that the human beings are forced to be deficient, nutritionally deficient. And they will lie. They'll tell you that you can get K2 vitamin, like the video that I did earlier today was on vitamin K2 that you get from natto. Well, that's MK7, and it does not do anything for your bones. but they'll claim, even Dr. Berg claims that it does something for your bones, and he's not a vegan. But he's not going, so far as I can tell, he hasn't told the truth to the public. Today, I exposed him as not having done that, told the truth. And I'm going to make sure that everyone who's not a vegan, but is being, that I come in contact with, but is being attacked by vegans, learns very well that the K2 vitamin that you get from natto, which is fermented soybeans, it's a disgusting, slimy thing. I can't even imagine eating it. I would be puking if I tried to eat it. But that's MK7. It's not MK4. MK4 is what you get from beef liver, ground beef, duck liver, duck, eggs, milk, butter. If you want strong bones, you can't get it on a vegan diet, even if you eat natto. It's just not going to happen.
No, I know. Exactly. Yeah, no, he, what was it? The other thing that he was saying, there's something I didn't want to disturb you. But there was something else that was really off. Oh yeah. When I was telling him, I said, look, stop with the corn. Like, oh, like if we weren't feeding the cows, I was like, it's actually, it seems like it wouldn't even be that difficult. I mean, look, they want to stop fossil fuel and they want to make us drive electric car. Imagine the infrastructure change. That's an insane infrastructure. The idea that no more gas stations. You're going to have all like these outlets and everything, like that. That's a huge thing. And that's what they're trying to do that for 2030 or something. But I was like, how about this? How about like, we just like use the land and put the cows there and let them do their thing and drink the rainwater mostly and eat grass on a large scale. And you know what? When they've been there long enough, plant the crops there and send them somewhere else. And it's like, it was shut down as if like, no, that's not going to happen. Or like, that's what I wasn't debating Jeff, I was trying to like give reasonable rationale saying, hey, yeah, that's broken, but that's because it shouldn't be like that. That's because they're eating what they're not supposed to eat,
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, oh, that's conjecture, or and I was like, okay, well, like we can't just use common sense and come up with like, yeah, you're criticizing this industry. Well, you know what, that industry, if you're criticizing them about that, we're actually criticizing it too. It should be done like that. Yeah, but it's not going to be done like that. So, okay. So is it more drastic to completely stop all animal food? That's quite a big step too, So I just found it was like, I was trying to just get in a conversation and he didn't want to have a conversation. Like he didn't just want to, he kept on, kind of bringing it back. I mean, overall, he's the most actually pleasant. It was the most pleasant conversation I ever had. I think yeah. Not the most pleasant, but yeah, like I'm sure he was holding back too. I'm sure you're like, I can just imagine they're just as annoyed with what we're saying and stuff like that. So overall, I got to give him props, like that it was like, okay, like the guy's not at least a douchebag and stuff like that, So I'm hoping the debate that way. But like you said, like the debate has nothing to do with him or convincing him. So even if he would shut down every single thing that you're showing, well, the viewers that really care about the truth, like the vegans won't listen to what you're saying either, but there might be omnivorous people that could have been influenced because they watched a documentary that played with their heartstrings. So it's really important that it's like, look, you showed the information, you don't accept it. Okay, I don't care. That's what I'm presenting, because like I was trying to tell Jeffrey, it's like, agree or not, but don't call me a alpha murdering meat eater and I eat it just because it tastes amazing and all of this. It's like, no, actually, I think that the nutrients don't exist in your diet. I think that, and that tells me that that's not natural. And then he said, I don't like the word natural. What's natural? Everything's natural. I'm like, So I didn't get into it. Like, no, natural means nature, comes from nature, you know, supplements, not natural. Nutrients in the ground, natural. So he had some weird stuff about the, you know, focusing on the word like natural and stuff like that. So it's like they don't want say that. And personally, me, I think that you know, from a Christian perspective and intelligent design, everything was perfectly symbiotic. Everything was in balance, and I think that it's like, just look back. We're going off track. Return to there. That's nature. Nature is wise. It's symbiotic. Every time we start playing with things, everything goes out the whack. But they don't see that. Because most of them probably are you know, atheistic, and they see that things are improving. You know, that's like, you know, like evolution is just natural selection. It's a blind process, and look what it created, this blind process. So you know what? Imagine if we take it. I remember Yuval Noah Harari during his World Economic Forum. That's you know, exactly what he said. He goes, "We'll take the reins of evolution, and we will create intelligent design." So he was referring that all of this, there's no intelligence. This is just blind chance. But we're smart, we're intelligent, and we will, like, I mean, he was talking about new species. He was literally talking about transhumanism, about, like, you know, the merging of organic with technical matter and stuff like that, you know. So I don't know. So he I think that they think that this is all progress and stuff like that, where like anyone that's attached to nature would say, like, no, I see wisdom. It's insanely intelligent, and you shouldn't mess with it. Like, name me one thing that we've done to deviate nature that's ever been beneficial. I can't think of any.
Anything we've done to nature that's beneficial?
Yeah, like where we've taken nature and we've altered it. I mean, maybe there are. I mean, but
No, the natural systems have been, you know, depending on your perspective, were either designed or evolved, but either way, they come together, you know, perfectly, so that everything in nature works just right. You know, if you changed one thing, all you have to do is remove one element, and none of this works. You know, let's remove copper. Well, you know, human biology requires copper. Let's remove carbon dioxide, or let's remove carbon.
yeah,
Which is bizarre that that there is a war on carbon right now, when all life forms that we know of are carbon based.
yeah.
You know,
I was looking. I had popped it up because while I was waiting for you, I was reading something, and they were literally, and I don't know from what mechanism. I don't know if I can find. I'll find it as we're talking. It was saying something about higher CO2 levels create nutrient deficiencies.
no, it's just the opposite.
I'm like, how the hell doesn't make sense? Like, when you have greenhouses, you're pumping CO2 into there to increase yields. So it's like, what are they saying? Global warming. So, well, now that, like you said, they call it climate change now, but if it would warm up and there'd be more CO2, wouldn't that create like a rainforest effect? Like, wouldn't that like increase it? I don't even understand. But
Yeah, here I'll pull something up here.
I'm looking for the actual phrase there.
So green plants grow faster with more CO2.
Yeah. Well, that's what I
And
thought.
many also become more drought resistant because higher CO2 levels allow plants to use water more efficiently. More abundant vegetation from increased CO2 is already apparent. So they're acting like more CO2 in the atmosphere is a bad thing.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's actually a godsend. It's exactly what we need is more CO2. And some people who aren't very educated in atmospheric gases might say, oh my God, if we have more CO2, there won't be any oxygen. No, that's not how it works. That's not
No.
how it works. There's going to be a certain amount of oxygen, and more CO2 means more plants. More plants and more
Yeah.
lush vegetation means more oxygen. So more CO2 is more oxygen.
Yeah. Like what about all like you'll hear CO2 and then sometimes methane. Like what about all the byproducts? Like, when you hear just smoking tobacco, like there's 10,000, carcinogenic compounds that are created when you combust the tobacco. It's like, well, what about all of these weird, byproducts of all of these industrial smokestacks and stuff like that? Like before any of this, I always, looked and said like, oh man, that's horrible pollution. Imagine all the crap in there. Like there must be also gases from just toxic. That's what I thought would be an issue. It's like, no, it's CO2. Doesn't it? Yeah, to me they're just lying, and plus like all of these things. Oh, in this many years this will happen. Those are just computer, like computer models that they punch in probably certain data amount of input, and based on what they put, if it's not accurate, then they come up with all these projections. It's like you had mentioned briefly, the inconvenient truth. It's like I should rewatch that to see all of the predictions that he did. There was acid rain. I remember when I was a kid, they were talking about acid rain. And then after, they were talking about the hole in the ozone. That's why everybody's burning. Meanwhile, when I stopped all the seed oils and I upped my omega-3 and I was eating like cod liver and stuff like that, I was like all summer, a whole summer, just sun didn't matter, never put sunscreen or anything like that, didn't burn. So, and then I that was anecdotal, of course. And then I started, just punching that into the keto community, and full of people were mentioning that. So like people didn't even understand why, but they were noticing like, hey, like I used to burn like a freaking lobster. I used to always say it doesn't make sense why humans are not adapted for the earth or something. Like why do humans burn like lobsters and are getting like all these skin cancers? Like why aren't we adapted for the sun and stuff like that? So like they're saying it's like holes in an ozone and all sorts of stuff. But one of the major factor I believe now is highly oxidized omega-6 toxicity that makes us prone to burn. I mean, there is some research when I checked that out, because I did a video, so I needed to kind of justify. And there are even some studies. What do you think about sunscreen? Does that like block vitamin D production, or there must be parabens in there? I'm sure those creams are estrogenic.
Yeah, they've got estrogenic compounds in there. There's also cancer-causing compounds, and also, you have to remember that we don't all live in the same regions that we used to. There are light-skinned people living along the equator who could benefit from, limiting their sun exposure simply because they're not adapted for equator level sun exposure.
Yeah.
Of course, I believe the healthy way of avoiding the sun when you need to would be with a hat or with an umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there are any healthy lotions that you can put on your skin to protect you from the sun. I think that, well, I know for a fact that there are a lot of them that have what are called photocarcinogens in them. So
Okay.
these are chemicals that they put in the sunscreen that cause cancer when they're exposed to the sun. You know,
Okay.
what kind of sense does that make?
Yeah.
So if you get on your favorite search engine and look up sunscreen photocarcinogen, and you'll see all of these brands of sunscreen that are actually putting cancer-causing chemicals in the sunscreen.
Not
Uh,
surprised.
but yeah, since we all live in like the dark-skinned populations that are living, say, in the Netherlands or in Canada, probably need more sun than what they're getting.
Yeah. I heard that the vitamin D production from the sun, for African American, for Black people, it's a lot lower. I guess the pigmentation and stuff like that. So you got like Black people that live like, especially up here up north and stuff like that, long winter seasons and stuff like that. Probably especially they I don't think they're producing what I read enough vitamin D because of their pigmentation. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I read.
It makes perfect sense. It's logical.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the screen here, it says the CO2 released during composting is considered biogenic, not anthropogenic. So it is not considered in greenhouse gas calculations. So what's important this is also true with composting, is methane production, not only carbon dioxide, but methane. And because composting is a natural process, they're not considering that in their greenhouse gas calculations. However, I've got a video coming soon that's going to show that before the Industrial Revolution, there were more ruminant animals on the earth than there are now. And so there's a cow is just a type of mammal called a bovine. And so is a bison, or a buffalo is a bovine. And a cow is not going to emit more greenhouse gases than a buffalo would. And so the truth is that any greenhouse gas emissions coming from a bovine or any ruminant animal in a sane world would be like composting. It would be considered biogenic. Anthropogenic emissions are man-made.
Yeah.
By definition, like the emissions from your car or the emissions from
industries.
Yeah, industries like electricity production from petroleum. I think something like 60% of American electricity is made with natural gas.
I think Canada is big. Well, we're sitting on a lot of natural gas also. I mean, the land in Canada, the land mass is insanely big, but all the industries and stuff like that, like we're economically very, very weak. Actually, we're just sitting on everything, because especially like the pipelines. I mean, I don't know. We could be producing and supplying Europe instead of Russia and stuff like that. But Trudeau is, as you know, world economic leader and stuff like that. So he's all with the world economic goals and stuff like that. I know that there was a big thing about 30% reduction in fertilizers that was freaking out the farmers here. Now I see that they're backtracking. I had articles about Trudeau wanting to reduce by 30%, and didn't they do that in Sri Lanka and the Netherlands or the Dutch? Yeah. So now they're backtracking and saying, no, these are targets. and we don't want to reduce the fertilizer by 30%. We want to reduce the emissions by 30%. And this is all going to be voluntary. Just like, the happy medicine was voluntary until they made it not voluntary. Well, we didn't force you. It's just, you won't be able to go to work. You won't be able to pay your house, and you'll be on the street. We're not forcing you, though.
Yeah, we're not forcing you, but
or like they want to force us to stop consuming meat, but they can do that economically. They don't have to change our minds. They can just do exactly what they're doing. It's like, oh, well, the fuel prices, that's going up. Here's a crisis over here. There's a war. And then, oh, well, they're just going to economically stop it. Like I was looking at, see, the problem is that the only way I can get grass fed here is if I get my crap together, get thousands of dollars, to buy a whole cow or split it by 3 people. Then I can just go right over here. There's farmers that do that. And we did that. And now I don't have the money. So now I'm kind of screwed because I still want to eat meat and stuff like that. But I'm going right now to the grocery store, and they don't label where it's from. There's no need to label it at all. So it could be from anywhere. But I mean, what am I going to do? Like, I can't get grass fed at the moment. So I'm going to be like, I don't want to encourage the grain industry. But so I'm going to go eat the middle section. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my issue now. When I had started, I was like, yeah, I have grass fed and everything. I want to get back to that. But right now I'm screwed. And the meat is super expensive. Like, it's ridiculous. It's like $20, 20 some bucks Canadian for one steak. So it's like, I just keep my eye open. And once in a while, there is something that's reasonable. Obviously, pork, is cheap. But imagine if you're saying that the grain-fed cow is that much more omega-6. So we're all avoiding like the seed oil because we're like, we don't want to screw up our omega-6 to omega-3 ratio and get inflammatory. But the meat is out of whack too because they're feeding grain. And I think pigs naturally, if they were eating what they were supposed to, would they still be higher in omega-6 compared to, let's say, beef? Or is that all just what they're feeding the pigs? Could they have the same rate? Like,
it's diet. It's the diet. It's the diet. Yeah. They eat a lot of soybean waste, a lot of soybean meal.
It's true. Yeah. You were saying that. Yeah.
And the oil in soybean is heavy in omega-6s. So yeah, it's the diet that's causing it. So when someone says, well, pork, it's naturally got high omega-6s. No, it doesn't naturally. Here in Texas, we have a lot of wild pigs.
Okay.
I've got them running, big herds of them running around here.
Yeah.
They run up and down the river, and they tear up fences, and they'll dig up, people's pastures and so forth. For me, I like having them around because they might, we may rely on that meat sometime in the future. But I guarantee you that if you go out there and you test that meat for the omega-6 to 3 ratio, it's going to be pretty balanced, just like grass-fed beef. Okay. It's going to be pretty balanced.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe a pig, because now I'm so upset because we started out with 12 chickens in the summer. We're just starting to do that. So we built the chicken coop, and then obviously predators got in. So then we tried to do, stuff. Now, we put like cement down and we bury it. So all the edges are kind of cemented. We had put rocks, but we still lost some. So I think now there's one sole chicken in the coop. It's impressive that they don't die. Like we have those red lights, I guess there. 2 red lights, and I was like, really? They'll survive in the winter like this? But anyways, there was a predator that got in somehow again. So now we only have one. But yeah, with 12, it was great. 12 per day. Eggs, they were starting to stack up. And now we don't have the chickens, and now the egg prices are up again. And like my son Josiah, like he's getting all into the weight training and stuff. So now he's eating, but he's eating excessively, right? Because he wants to get big and strong. So he's freaking like emptying like everything, and I'm like, oh my god, he's going to cost me a fortune. But I don't want to discourage him because he was getting in trouble for 2 years, and now he's like he's putting his energy into this obsessively. It's like great, so I want to encourage him, but he's eating all our food.
Yeah,
everything's expensive, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll do overtime. It's better than getting in trouble like he was.
My dad used to complain about that all the time.
Yeah,
he's eating us out of house and home.
Well, you're a big guy. You look like you're over 6 foot. No, you're 6'3".
I'm 6'4".
Jeez, yeah, you're a monster.
So yeah, I ate a lot of food growing up.
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to play this real quick. This is, in Canada, you've got a formula shortage, mothers that can't get milk for their children, and of course, the population being heavily malnourished. A lot of mothers are not producing milk themselves like they ought to, especially if they're on a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
But this is a Canadian dairy farmer who's blowing the whistle on the Canadian government because they're forcing him to dump 30,000 liters of good milk simply because he's already reached his quota. Now, besides engineering a food shortage, what this does to him is that the money that he would make above his quota is good money because the milk is selling for like $7 a liter in Canada. And so this would be a financial windfall for him. It would be a good thing. It would help him survive as a food producer. But it looks like they're trying to throw a wrench in the finances of every food producer. But here he is blowing the whistle on what the Canadian government is doing to him.
Hey guys, we're here at Hugenbos Farm and
Oh, the volume went off?
Oh,
I can't hear the volume. Start it over.
job, you will produce quite a bit of milk. Hey guys, we're here at Hugenbos Farm in Southern Ontario. We milk about 260 cows. Right now during the winter months, you milk quite a bit more milk because the feed is very consistent. And as you do a good job, you will produce quite a bit of milk. So, but right now we're over our quota. It's regulated by the government and by the DFO. But the problem is what they don't understand is millions of people look at this milk running away because it's the end of the month. So I have to dump 30,000 liters of milk. It breaks my heart. I will show you.
so he's saying that at the end of the month, he's having to dump 30,000 liters of good milk simply because the government is saying, okay, that's it. That's all the milk we want from you.
By the way, this here Canadian milk, it's $7 a liter. When I go for my haircut, people say, wow, $7, Jerry, for a little bit of milk. I say, well, you have to go higher up because we have no say anymore as a dairy farmer on our own farm because
He says they make us dump it, and this time I'm going public.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
They'll show up dead in a ditch. Disappear.
They make us dump it.
They make us dump it. So you've got a global food shortage, and the government is making these dairy farmers dump their product, and he's dumping 30,000 liters.
And no matter how we stand up, so this time I'm going public. I want the people to see the pain that us growers have of 365 days as a little boy. We grew up on a dairy farm, came from Europe, work, and here we are. This is what's happening. Oh, by the way, only one country in the world here in Canada.
So this is not what a sane government would do. This is a result of WEF, World Economic Forum influence. That is why this milk is being dumped.
There's not the United States, not Europe, where they dump thousands of liters when they're over. But we're not supposed to talk about this because, I don't know, it's just one of those things.
He can't say.
But as it's happening, I hope the DFO does look at this and says to herself, you tell me, if you're in the pig business, the wood industry, any steel industry, if you're 10% over when your times are good, how can you, so for us when it's good, our little bit of profit, it goes down the drain. How you guys dare to put this product on the market for $7 a liter and think that that's okay when there's a lot of mothers, single mothers with no extra, like, they have maybe a few kids to feed or whatever, or the sick kids hospital it could go to. It could go anywhere.
Yeah, so they would rather, as long as they can try to put this guy out of business, then they're willing to let mothers, mothers out there with babies, families out there that could use this milk. But the Canadian government is making him dump it simply because he produced more than this quota that
he did too much of a good job. He did his job.
You're doing too good of a job, so dump the rest. You don't get the benefit from it at all.
So, and this is while they're screaming that there's a huge famine and food shortage, and they're warning us about that. Meanwhile, you can't make cheese or anything with this. And that's like, I'm going to sound the alarm. I'm going to have to make a video specifically on this. I'm going to post that on Facebook. No one will watch it, but maybe I'll put a sexy girl on the top as clickbait, and then maybe hot girl, and you're like, click it, and he's like this guy. I'm surprised because if you would just not know what he's talking about, it would sound like he's a soy farmer. His voice is like very, very high. Did you notice? Press it. It's like, are you sure you're not a soy farmer? You got that like vegan tone. But yeah, and this is from the National Post. I'm surprised the National Post posted it.
Wow. Yeah, I am too.
This must be happening not just in Canada. If this is happening in Canada, it's happening other places, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's just about every, like here in just in the mail the other day, I got a consensus, a U.S. consensus form. I have to tell them every animal that I've got on the place. I've got to give them a tally of every animal that's on the place. And I'm sure as soon as I turn that in, I'm going to get a visit. They're going to want to come out here and test my chickens and cull my chickens, right? They don't want me to be able to produce eggs. They want everyone reliant on the machine. And someone like me on a homestead with chickens laying eggs that I don't have to buy at the store is not something that makes them happy. So that's why they send out these consensus forms, because they want to know if you've got an animal that's in their crosshairs, so they can come out here and test it and say, oh yeah, you've got bird flu. We're going to have to kill it. And bird flu can transfer to this animal. We're going to have to kill those animals too. And they just want to wipe out all animal farming, which is exactly what something that Jeffrey would never own up to.
No,
he's someone said in the comments there that he's gaslighting, and I would have to agree. That's a form of gaslighting by ignoring the facts and telling you a different version of truth that doesn't match with reality, but matches is manufactured to match his narrative.
Yeah, it's like they're just happy. They're like, wow, these guys are demonizing animal food, and they're pushing all of this plant-based. So that accomplishes my objectives. No problem. As long as it's working for our cause, then we're not going to put it down, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, like if you look all over on, you know, you just go Google or go on YouTube about veganism and period loss, you know, like just put on YouTube, veganism and period loss, and just scroll all of these people, these women that lose their period. So it's like, what is that? A sign of infertility? Yeah, exactly. So they want to push this whole diet on us. So
Here. Are you there?
yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to pull this. I'm going to pull a related article up here.
Sure.
Video.
New York City grocery stores consider locking up food. Oh, this is what you're telling me on the phone. New York City grocery stores consider locking up food due to rampant theft. Yeah, there'll be riots as things get worse. People will get like desperate and violent.
Listen to this.
Go ahead.
Continues to terrorize them.
Well, grocery store owners, they are fed up with shoplifting surge across the city. They want tougher punishments to stop repeat offenders.
It's crazy that we even have to talk about it like this, right? Well, there's a new coalition calling on city and state leaders to help in their fight. Joining us now, two leaders of the Coalition Action to Protect Our Stores Coalition, Frank Marte of the Bodega and Small Business Group, and Nelson Eusebiano of the National Supermarket Association. Nice to have you both here. Nelson, what's the problem? What are you seeing right now in your stores?
The problem is that people have no fear of coming into your store and stealing and putting something into their pockets, into their bags. Once they put it into their pockets and their bags, they feel this belongs to me and you can't take it away from me.
Where are we going with this? I'm concerned. Are grocery stores going to wind up like pharmacies? Like you go in there, you can't get toothpaste without like flagging somebody down for help.
Well, that's something that we are fighting to get that protection. That's why even when we ask to the elected official or the DA that it need to be consequence.
Nelson, are we in danger of like seeing food locked up?
Exactly right, and that's what we're fighting.
Are we in danger of like seeing food locked up?
Exactly right.
Nelson, are we in danger of like seeing food locked up?
Exactly right, and that's what we're fighting. Right now, we sell everything that's cosmetics, shampoos, baby formula behind the counters, and it's going to get to be more and more of that happening. We're going to have an environment where everything is going to be behind the counter, and the shopping experience is going to be gone. You're not going to be able to go and smell the fruits, read the ingredients, look at a recipe. You're going to be able to go and smell the fruits, read the ingredients, look at a recipe. That's going to go and smell the fruits, read the ingredients, look at a recipe. That's going to disappear if we don't do something now.
We're watching our way of life crash.
Oh, him. I just watched him. It's funny. I never saw this guy before, and I just happened to fall on him.
Yeah, he's really good. His channel is
it's a big channel.
Yates. I highly recommend his content. But yeah, they're talking about locking up the food. You can't smell it. You can't read the ingredients. You know.
I think they just want to transition to you do all your shopping online, and eventually those drone things will just bring it. You know, they're going to up the ability to get things to people faster. That's quite possible. They can do that. And you'll be going to your grocery store, you'll be clicking it, paying online, and they'll bring it over. That's it. It's going to be like, and we saw that was what was happening during the pandemic. Right? Everybody was buying pretty much everything online. I mean, I'm sure if we look at the amount of profits and stuff like that, Amazon and everything, it's like they want to squish, especially like the farmers, just squish all of the farmers and then just globalize everything. have one huge global food, company, whatever, that's involved with the stakeholders, and we're just sitting here. Jobs will be over Zoom mostly. Of course, we'll make it fun because we'll make it through the metaverse, so you can be a big purple hippo when you're in your meeting or something like that.
Did you see that JP's take on the metaverse?
No.
Let me see if I can pull that up. Hilarious.
Metaverse is horrible. Like, I mean, look at what just social media has done. Like, just these app games. I've had it under control now, thank goodness. But I'm a very excessive, highly, impulsive and stuff like that. And I got caught up when I quit drinking. I didn't fix the root cause of the thing, so I just jumped into it. It's not even like gambling. It was what is it? War and Order. No, yeah, War and Order. It's a stupid imaginary castle that these typical games. You send out resources, you build troops, and then you fight. And I was hooked on that. It was ridiculous, and wasted like a good 3 years impulsively, using money for an imaginary castle as an adult. So you can see the effect on me. Imagine the kids, and this is horrible. Like, people don't talk to each other. Everybody, has a short attention span. So the more that they do this virtual reality, the more that the more it'll be worse. It'll definitely be the destruction of culture. It's already.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess as soon as we started playing video games online, that's kind of a type of metaverse. But the metaverse that they're kind of promoting or advertising or predicting is just completely. It's so far-fetched. It will never work.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me show you JP's take on it, which is, it's funny because this is exactly the kind of thing that I had envisioned in my mind when they were telling us that we were all going to stop living in reality and start living in the metaverse.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is time for us to adopt a new company brand to encompass
I love Waking with JP. Yeah.
I am proud to announce our company is now Meta.
Hi there, peasant. Here at Facebook, we've been working on an exciting project that'll change how you live your life. The metaverse. It'll be a fully immersive virtual and augmented reality that enriches you by completely taking over your mind and life. Now, the metaverse isn't what you think. It's better than you can think. So let me explain what the metaverse is and all the benefits it'll give you. But first, have you ever thought, instead of living a productive life with meaning, I'd like to live an unproductive pretend life with pretend meaning? The metaverse takes you there.
I think this could be very positive for our society and economy.
Positive indeed, Mark. Up until now, if you've liked how Facebook has controlled your online experience with our algorithms that have proven...
I don't want to play too much of that, but
as long as you stop and you comment and stuff like that, it's fine.
Yeah, you can see how ridiculous it. Here, go back to the part that I thought was so funny. People living in the metaverse while the world around them collapses.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they're going to hook us up. They're going to stick a tube up our butts so that we can defecate and urinate without having to get out of the metaverse. This is like the Matrix or something.
No, this is Idiocracy, the movie. Yeah. Do you remember you've seen, right? Idiocracy?
Yeah. That was predictive programming.
6 months because it's getting more and more accurate. But one of them, the guy, he has like this virtual reality thing and he's watching pornography. Do you remember that part? And there's something on his junk there that's you can hear it going, and he's like with that. I'm like 100% this stuff, pornography. It's going to be all the majority, 80% will be this stuff for pornography, guaranteed.
Yeah, which is weird to think of because most people will be their libido will be gone because they're going to be on a plant-based diet.
Yeah.
So they'll be sexually dysfunctional and no libido. So you know what's
True.
they'll even be trying to regurgitate the porn.
They'll push ecstasy.
Yeah,
You'll
I guess so.
Chemically get it.
Yeah, they'll hook us up to an intravenous, an IV of
Viagra
and ecstasy. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
No, it's crazy. I'm just reading some of the comments to see if people have something decent to say. You know how to pop up comments if ever you want it to show.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see that now.
Yeah, when you go over anything, you'll click, and then after you can hide it. I always forget and leave things up. Just slappy. Are these people you know from your channel?
Yes.
Yeah. For instance, there's fossil and palm trees and alligators found from. Yes, Slappy was talking probably when we were talking about climate change. He says, for instance, there were fossils of palm trees and alligators found from those scenes all the way up in Alaska and Canada. There was one from Antarctica. It was like an old map. Again, I take it with a grain of salt. I don't know how real it is, but it seemed to have been like Antarctica, but land. It was like a map or something, you know. I'm sure there's been like all sorts of climactic changes. Patrick Moore says, in other words, we're lied to a lot. It's a fascinating thing to read about. So what exactly happened in Sri Lanka and the Dutch? Did you read up like the complete thing that they did? Because I heard like, oh yeah, they're doing it to the farmers, but I didn't get a clear story of what exactly did they do. I think it'd be probably important to know, because whatever they're doing somewhere else, they're going to do over here anyways.
What are they doing?
Like what exactly happened? Because all I saw at one point was like a protest where they were shooting manure all over the government buildings. It's not given much platform either, right? They like to compartmentalize us and isolate us so that we don't see huge movements happening in other countries, so that we could be like, oh, okay, we're not alone. Like shit, they're doing, like we should all get it. It's like you don't even know that things are happening. Like I don't even, like I heard briefly about it. I saw something probably on like YouTube short about the crap being thrown. That's it. I don't even know if it's ongoing. No clue. You can hardly get any information.
Yeah, so it says European Union rules will force Dutch to ban livestock farming. Dutch cattle farms sealed off after BSE case. So they're trying to use these infectious diseases to absolutely shut down all food supply except for corn and soybeans. You know, all the stuff that these artificial mock meats are made of.
Yeah.
That's the only, except for the nitrogen, of course. And I think that was a red herring because, like you said, they're saying no, that those are goals. We're not going to force that right now, because that allows them to get everyone off of real meat onto the fake meat.
Yeah.
If they leave some, and besides that, the nitrogen is made using petroleum. The vegan,
Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, I just read on that. So the nitrogen and stuff like that, do they extract that from the nitrogen in the atmosphere, but the process takes fossil fuel or something?
Yes. Yes.
That's how it is? Yeah. I had no idea.
Yeah. And there's also gargantuan amounts of emissions.
I can imagine.
Nitrogen.
There's I read that they want to gene edit pigs to have an enzyme that produces less phosphorus. But isn't phosphorus one of the main nutrients for soil?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it is.
it's just really weird, like the stuff like, oh, CO2, it's bad. It's like, I don't know. It seems like that would be good. Oh, phosphorus. Pigs are crapping phosphorus. So they rather get the phosphorus from mining. So I guess they're getting it from the mines.
Yeah, the petroleum industry, the phosphate mining industry, the potash mining industry, these are all industries that are heavily involved in the World Economic Forum. So they have a lot more money, a lot more power than the cattle farmers, because that's that segment of the meat supply is basically atomized, because there's all these individual little farmers, and once it leaves them, goes to the meat packers. Well, the meat packers are, of course, spearheading the fake meat market. So they're becoming, instead of meat companies, they're becoming protein companies, like you mentioned before. And so the profit margin on soybean protein is much higher than the profit margin on cattle or beef. So
Go ahead.
In addition, there's been a merger with Monsanto and Bayer. So you've got the pharmaceutical industry is looking for higher profits too. So this is a way to make people sick, by getting them off of real meat and feeding them basically industrial waste impregnated with industrial inflammatory seed oils.
That's crazy. And that's the thing. It's like, it's one step at a time of squeezing. Then the people that are like, well, this is stupid, will do the homesteading thing, and then they'll just go against the law now. So now you can't homestead. I mean, people really have to just go like under the table and start visiting these farmers. There's a dairy farm over here, and I see them in the grass and stuff like that in the summer. I'm gonna go see them. I'll be like, I should go directly and just ask them. So like, is anything happening? Because I'll freaking go buy his milk under the table. That's what they should do. Just like, Al Capone it. They wanted to do that with alcohol, and you got a black market. Like, why can't we get a black market farms? Like I'd be trying to sell that crap under the table. I know it's illegal. Probably lose your whole farm just for trying to sell the milk that you're spilling down the drain to the people around your community.
Well,
and then,
from my perspective, it's almost there is that risk, and it's a lot of people know that I tried to get a meat business up and going, because I was predicting, the WEF has been very vocal for years now about what their intentions were. Mm-hmm. And I was telling people that we're at the doorstep of them shutting down the meat industries, and real meat is going to become scarce and very expensive. Yeah. And so I would like to be able to get this business going, but I need to sell my meat at a profit. And mm-hmm. people would say, well, the grocery store or the supermarket meat is cheaper than what you're offering. And so I would prefer that you sell your meat at a loss so that I can justify buying meat from you rather than from the supermarket. And I farted around with these people for months and months. And then I finally said, these people do not care about national food security. They don't care that their local cattlemen that are producing beef cannot compete with the supermarket meats, which were like here in the U.S. and even in Canada, a lot of the majority of the beef is either imported or supplied by JBS, which is a company out of Brazil. And they're constantly undercutting the price they'll pay for their beef, but they're charging record high prices at the supermarkets now. Yeah. So, I've had people that are calling me up and saying, "Hey, are you still in the beef business?" And I'll say, well, "Why do you ask?" And they'll say, "Well, yours was more expensive back in the day, but now the supermarket beef is more expensive than what you were charging. So I would like to finally, at this late stage of the WEF Holodomor game, I would like to buy my beef from you." And I just have to say, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. You had your chance. You had your opportunity to help a local beef producer, and you basically told me to take it and shove it unless I was willing to sell my beef at a loss. And that's what most of the public expects farmers to do, is to sell their produce at a loss so that they can afford to take that extra money and spend it on other luxury items like McDonald's and Burger King. These are actually, believe it or not, luxury purchases, because the cost of the beef that's in a McDonald's patty is 3, 5, depending on where you are, 3, 5, 7 times what you can buy it from a local producer, the beef.
Yeah. These are the farmers. It would be nice if we didn't have to buy the whole cow. That's my issue. It's like, dude, slaughter one, freeze up and sell. Not everybody has $2,000-$3,000 and stuff like that.
Well, the remedy to that is to talk to friends and get a bunch of your friends.
That's what you
get like 5 or 10 families to go in on one steer or cow together, share the price of slaughtering and packaging it, and get yourself a decent sized deep freeze. And then the next step is to start canning that meat so that you don't have to lose it when they have these blackouts, because they also are planning on shutting down everyone's electricity. So canning meat is something you can do at home. It's real easy. You just cook it right in the jar, and it's very much like canning jam or something like that.
No, it's funny. Like they make these predictions. Bill Gates, World Economic, all these degenerates, and it's like, no, they're not predictions. You're letting us know this is the next thing we're going to create. The 2025, the virus. I heard that they're doing gain of function. Pfizer itself is doing gain of function to mutate it and stuff like that. They could I don't want to get the stream blocked and stuff like that. Yeah, it's true. I was supposed to say allegedly. I'm allegedly. Hey, can you pop up my can you make me share my screen? You just go, I'm going to present share screen. And then the box where you allowed me to join should pop
I know.
up. Okay, you know how. I've
got it all figured out now. Okay.
Good.
There you go.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so when I was saying these large corporations want to get into the plant protein. It's highly subsidized, all of this stuff. It's way cheaper. Like you said, you don't have to feed the grain to the cow to get the cow to market and stuff like that. And he was kind of looking as if like, no, like everyone's backing the meat, eggs, and dairy industry, everybody. And I'm going like, no, that's not true. And on top of it, fine, they're heavily backed, no problem. Well, you guys are just as heavily backed also. And there's all sorts of like chemicals and stuff like that, like Roundup being sprayed that's carcinogenic. Like how is that good? You know, I have like some wild berries and stuff around here. If I pick them, they got to be eaten almost right away. The next day, they're just like already mushing up. It's like, why do these like fruits, you know, like these currants and all these the berries and stuff that you buy in those little stupid crates for like $5 each, and it's like they were harvested, they had to be transported, now they're on display, and then I bring them and I can keep them another week probably easily in my. It's like, why is that lasting so long? Like I'm eating something that's making this last really long. I'm, you know, skeptical of that. So if you go like Scholar, reducing meat consumption in men, and you go to here, cutting red meat for a longer life, health, Harvard, you know, all of the, and the vegan will say, there's a really good study from Harvard. And it's like, okay, guys, these institutions are no longer the prestigious, you know, institutions that they once were. I mean, you know, they're all like woke leftist ideologies, pushing like critical race theory, pushing all sorts of other ideologies that have to do with biology. So it's like, show me where they're attacking fruits and vegetables. See here. So he's not being honest by kind of like being like, what are you talking about? Like our industry is not supported at all, and your industry is producing this. It's no. Testing a novel multi-component intervention to reduce meat consumption in young men. There's one. Next. From Cambridge. Reducing meat consumption in the US, a national representative survey of attitudes and behaviors. It's all like the social science degenerates. All medical journals. Reducing meat consumption by appealing to animal welfare. Protocol for meta-analysis. So if you're doing this study here that you published just a little over 2 years ago, reducing meat consumption by appealing to welfare. Well, who are the mouthpieces that are screaming and appealing to animal welfare? Like these people with this agenda are the ones that are funding, you know, these activists on YouTube like Carb Strong and whatever the other one that's like sounds like a surfer man and smokes weed all the time. Reducing how to transition to reduce meat diets. What if we all ate a bit less meat? It just goes on. Psychology Today. Then it's like a puff piece. Yes, men eat meat. Well, to be honest, if men that eat meat will be more masculine because they're going to have optimal sex hormones. They're going to be getting all the fat, straw. They'll have a libido. Like vegan diets, we know, cause people to brain fog, and they're just dulled down, dumbed down. We can go over here to YouTube, and then we got like just punching in. The best debunkers of veganism are vegans. Veganism, loss of menstrual cycle. Let's put. So this is our future. Period loss on a vegan diet. I lost my period for 1.5 years. Vegan diet, low testosterone in men and women losing periods. Why? Oh, Dr. Greger, he's going to tell us. Oh, I love this Greger with his bobblehead. Where is he? He's just talking in this one. Maybe he doesn't show his face anymore.
Both vegetarians and until one's hormones come. Because there's just so much stress that their body says, oh my God, all right, well, the last thing we got to worry about is reproduction here. Let's just survive. And so a very kind of similar reaction. So the most important
Mind if I go just further
up,
back? I want to hear his excuse of how it's not the diet. It's what? It's just stress in life.
The body says, oh my God, all right, well, the same thing says, oh my God, we're in a famine situation. There's no way I'm bringing kids into this world. Let's wait until my fat stores get back up.
Why some vegan women lose their period, and then secondly, why some vegan men may have low testosterone, and then what we can do to fix these issues.
Amenorrhea, primary cause is a lack of sufficient body fat. So once your body fat stores drop below a critical level, when people get underweight, their body says, oh my God, we're in a famine situation. There's no way I'm bringing kids into this world. Let's wait until my fat stores get back up to a normal level. And then, okay, then I'll bring children into the world because it's a healthier world. There's harvest, there's food around. I mean, so that's a body's very natural reaction. But the same thing happens actually with men, male athletes, endurance runners, people that overtrain. It's called the overtraining syndrome.
We'll stop so we don't get a strike. But I want to hear his excuse. So he's gonna deny, that it's because of the lack of fat in the diet, cholesterol, D3.
They actually get a drop in testosterone levels. So because there's just so much stress that their body says, oh my God, all right, well, the last thing we got to worry about is reproduction here. Let's just survive. And so a very kind of similar reaction. So the most important thing is to bring up one's body fat until one's hormones come back. And so that may mean eating more frequent meals, particularly if you're...
We won't supply anything that hormones are made of, but as long as we get fatter, maybe we'll have some more sex. Idiot.
Exercising a lot, burning off lots of calories. It may mean more calorically dense food, so like nut butters and smoothies and dry food.
That's the next thing you can push. Vegan smoothie. All the vegans, and I like how they say that our teeth are not made, like carnivores to eat this, and they're saying that's their justification, and it's like. Okay, so you guys blend everything. Everything is a blender or a juicer. Mm-hmm. Look at Freely there, the banana girl in the stupid wherever rainforest she's in, and she had. Did you ever see that? She has full of electrical wiring coming out. You see like the palm trees. She's looks like she's in the jungle, and she's making smoothies and she's juicing stuff.
Yeah.
So. What does that tell you? Like, why can't you eat anything without a juicer or a blender?
Things like that to pack on the calories and just bring up your body fat percentage. But the reason it's so critical is because the lack of estrogens can affect your bones. So you don't have enough estrogen to support strong bones. We see these young female athletes, and not necessarily vegetarian, but just very, very lean female athletes losing their period and then getting into severe osteoporosis. In terms of menstrual regularity, plant-based diets are fantastic. Actually, there's less anovulatory cycles when you move to a plant-based diet. So it actually improves your menstrual function, fertility, less menstrual.
Wait. What's it say here? A low-fat vegetarian diet was associated with increased serum sex hormone binding globulin concentration and reduction in body weight. Dysmenorrhea, am I pronouncing that right? Yeah. Duration and dysmenorrhea, duration, intensity, and menstrual symptom duration. The symptom effects might be mediated by. So what you're saying? They're saying like you'll have less severe period symptoms. Is that what they're saying? Premenstrual symptom duration.
Yeah, I guess they're saying
the menses, like the bleeding. So they mentioned something that here, increased serum sex hormone binding globulin concentration. Okay, does that mean you're more fertile if this is increased? I'm not sure, but here it just sounds like, yeah, you're going to lose your period. You'll have less period symptoms.
Here, let me interject something here that's related.
Yeah.
I did the video earlier on vitamin K2. There's two primary types of vitamin K2, one being MK7 that you get in natto, and MK4 that you get in meat and liver. And the MK7 hasn't been found to do anything for the human body. The MK4, what we went over today was it's the version of K2 that's actually responsible for strengthening your bones and teeth. The MK7 that you get from natto or fermented soybeans doesn't, that I can find, doesn't have any function in the human body. But here's another related to what you're talking about, another function of MK4, and that is the fact that it stimulates testosterone production. Now here it says in rats, but the reason they do studies in rats is because rats, believe it or not, are very physiologically similar to human beings, and that's why they do these tests on rats and mice to figure out what's likely to happen in humans. But it doesn't surprise me that MK4 is, along with cholesterol and vitamin D and other animal-derived nutrients, would be responsible for producing testosterone.
Yeah.
So it says MK4 stimulates testosterone production in rats and testes-derived tumor cells via activation of PKA. MK4 may be involved in steroidogenesis in the testes, and its supplementation could reverse the downregulation of testosterone production in elders. And so what that is saying is that as people age, their testosterone is going down. One of the reasons for that could be a deep or pronounced deficiency in vitamin K2 in the form of MK4.
Yeah. So look, you see this period loss. So imagine we're all eating just these replacement plant proteins. We're eating fruits and vegetables. We're hardly eating any meat, no eggs, all that crap. So you have this, then you have like veganism, brain fog. What causes veganism, brain fog? Look at all these like gurus. It's hilarious. Vegan brain fog, soy face, whatever. But so obviously if vegans themselves are trying to like, okay, we got to make a video explaining why veganism causes brain fog, but it's not because of the diet, blah, blah, blah. So you have loss of period. You have vegan brain fog, hair loss. Jeez. You look at Greta Thunberg too, her hair's she's getting bald. You ever notice that? How thin her hair is?
You know, I haven't, but it makes me think that people like her they'll go through some type of, they'll do something to their hair to make it look stringy just so that they're believable. I do not think that they'll take an asset like that and put them on a destructive vegan diet,
Yeah.
But they may want to portray some vegan degeneration just so that this person is believed to be sincere in their motivations.
Wonder if there'd be like a before and after. What? Just a minute, JD. I don't know. He didn't tell. I didn't pay attention. He said he was going to work on the Skidoo at his friend's. He said that he had a lift. I don't know if he just walked out or if he's still here. I've been like just chatting on the live stream right now. I mean, she just might always. You'd have to see before, to compare. I don't know how long she's been vegan. If she, like you said, if she even is. Looks like she's losing her hair though. Very scraggly. All right, that I can. Okay, you can take me off probably the share screen now. I can do it. Yeah. Okay.
Well, you mentioned something earlier about how they predict this stuff and how uncanny their predictions are. Here's an example of a prediction. This was Fauci back in 2017. This was before the Trump administration. Listen to what he says. He's like Nostradamus over here.
To a pandemic preparedness. And if there's one message that I want to leave with you today, based on my experience, and you'll see that in a moment, is that there is no question that there will be a challenge to the coming administration in the arena of infectious diseases, both chronic infectious diseases in the sense of already ongoing disease, and we have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history, of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of presentation will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will surprise outbreak. We have certainly a large burden of that, but also there will be a surprise outbreak. And
okay, if someone is going to tell you that they're going to throw a surprise birthday party for you, then on Wednesday at 4 p.m., guess what? It's not.
Surprise.
It's not a surprise. So if you know that there's a surprise coming, then how surprised? That's
built up behind the ice. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you what happens. You just said that.
I hope by the end of my relatively short presentation, you will understand why history, the history of the last 32 years that I've been the director of NIAID, will tell the next administration that there's no doubt in anyone's mind that they will be faced with the challenges that their predecessors were faced with. That they will be faced with the next administration, that there's no doubt in.
No doubt. There's no doubt. No doubt there's going to be a surprise. And here's another prediction that I thought was interesting. This was Bill Gates in 2019 on Twitter.
Very excited about the next year to mean for Biden. Yeah, huh?
He's particularly excited about what the next year could mean for one of the best buys in global health.
Vaccines.
So he said for what the next year could mean. Can you imagine the ability, the uncanny ability to see the future like that? That is amazing.
Yeah.
Did you see what he said about the shots recently?
Well, recently it seems like he's like, they're not very good. They don't last very long. Because I think like he took stock out of the vaccine, and now that he made his billions, and now he's kind of downplaying, like, the vaccines, they don't last long enough. They don't prevent transmission.
Anyway, so antibodies, antivirals. We think we can also have very early in an epidemic a thing you can inhale that will mean that you can't be infected. A blocker, an inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the 3 problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection, and they have very short duration. Current vaccines are not infection blocking.
They're not infection blocking? Okay.
But
they're not broad, so when new variants
they're not infection blocking.
We also
what?
They're not infectious blocking, but you should get vaccinated because it's not about you, it's about others.
Right.
Need to fix the 3 problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection.
So they're not broad.
They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection, and they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And
yeah, the old people are the ones that matter. But yeah,
just before, even during the pandemic, it didn't really make sense because, smart people were like, listen, like, this is rushed. I'm nervous about side effects. Doesn't seem to have been tested very long. So I'm young. I'm 30. Seems to be hitting old people. Yeah, but it's not about you. It's about others. So then you're like, yeah, I know, but if the others got the vaccine and it prevents transmission and infection, then I'll get sick, but you won't get sick because you're vaccinated. It didn't even make sense during the pandemic. That's how dumbed down people are. Like they showed, I think I have it in one of my videos, the compilation of them saying like all this.
Get canceled. Let's don't get canceled. Be careful what you say.
Yeah.
But I think everyone knows what.
Yeah. But there's compilations, and you see them all saying, the same thing. I think compilation was a danger to our democracy. Remember when everything, like they were saying everything, and they had put all these different channels all lined up, this guy, and played them at the same time, and it was like the same words being said, and there's like 50 different networks on there. So like people are so dumbed down that they it's actually what Hitler said, like you want them to believe a lie, just keep on repeating it, keep it simple and keep on repeating it. So they just throw out these mantras, and then people did their research on the local news, and then they'll just say exact whatever they say. And then they never remember when you're like, you remember I told you that? And they're like, well, the science wasn't, it's like, anyways, like you said, I don't want to get you canceled here.
All right.
Do you have anything else to present? We could always watch.
Oh yeah, I've got something here I want to show. You were talking about the agriculture subsidies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I looked that up the other day, and I made a graph based on the data. Mm-hmm. This is U.S. These are U.S. numbers, but we produce a lot of the world's corn and soybeans, so it's relevant. Let's see if I can find it. Here we go. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you've got, this is what Jeffrey was referring to. He was saying that the reason we're all eating meat is because it's so heavily subsidized compared to vegan food.
Yeah.
But as you can see here, vegan food is much more subsidized than any meat would ever be.
Then he's going to say, like, all of this corn though is being grown to feed them. So he's trying to imply that these subsidies here are actually livestock subsidies for the livestock.
Right. Do you know the truth on the corn? I know the numbers on both of these.
Go ahead. You know more than me on this. Like I can assume.
Regarding the corn, it is true that 36% of the corn is fed directly to livestock. 36%, which leaves 64% is not grown exclusively for livestock, but 36% of the corn is grown exclusively for livestock. The rest of the corn stuff that's fed to livestock is corn stalks, which humans can't eat, and industrial waste like distiller's corn, which is the mush left over after either ethanol production or whiskey production. After they use the corn to produce those products, which are consumed by humans, there'll be this trash mush left over that technically is a corn product, but it is industrial waste.
Yeah.
The rest of the corn that they feed to livestock is industrial waste left over after some type of processing to produce a product that was destined solely for human production. Yeah. Regarding the soybeans, about 90% of the world's soybeans are processed to extract the oil. In fact, soybean oil represents about 64% of the world's seed oils. So you've got 90% of all the soybeans being the oil being extracted from those soybeans, 90% of them. So 90% of the soybeans grown are grown to produce a product that is destined solely for human consumption, because only humans consume soybean oil, either as a cooking oil or as an ultra processed food ingredient, or after it's been turned into biodiesel.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, they'll use, I know one place, peanut oil. They use these like seed oils that are polyunsaturated fats, so super brittle, prone to oxidation, right, with light and heat. What do? They use this to cook French fries and stuff in restaurants and stuff, and just use it over and over and over. It's like a toxic waste of byproducts and radicals and all sorts of rancid products. I think McDonald's, when they first started, at least they were using tallow. I'm surprised Josiah at the St. Hubert's restaurant, it's like a chicken place that I was sure that they used some kind of seed oil. They said no. But when they have those store-bought grocery chickens that are already cooked, they're in you just can grab it and it's already cooked and everything. And you look on the side, like there's even like seed oils on that, it's just everywhere. But anyways, even if this was all this corn was wasted on the animals, it's like, well, it doesn't matter. We're not even supposed to be feeding them that crap. You guys could keep all that corn if you wanted for all yourselves and just leave it there. And these guys could just be in areas replenishing soil. But that's not going to happen. And that's basically his response.
Yeah.
Let's criticize the corn because it sounds good for the argument, but then you kind of use logic. You go, yeah, I know, but they actually shouldn't be eating that. So you're telling me that rainwater and grass that we don't have anything to do with, nothing to do with it, and like they compare corn like, oh, it's like corn is corn, like
punch up the nutrient content of corn. The cows are eating useless material that we have nothing that we can do with. And through bacterial fermentation, they're creating nutrients. Like they're the only ones that literally can create nutrients. So it's like they're not thinking like, guys, like corn, cow, fat in the cow, the organs of the cow, the muscle meat. You're trying to compare and say that we should just turn and eat corn. It just shows the lack of into like, it's just so indoctrinated that you're not using common sense. It's like me, you know, when I did the carnivore, the ketogenic diet, I mean, I looked up as much as I could because I was like, okay, well, I want to know if this is healthy or not, and it convinced me that it's a good way to eat, low carb, not necessarily pushing like keto. And then the carnivore, I'm like, okay, you know, like where do you get these nutrients and stuff like that? So it's like I looked up and like I was talking to you about the vitamin C. It's like, yeah, they say there's vitamin C in this. Well, there is some in organs. Most people in the carnivore diet are probably not eating organs. So it's like, yeah, maybe add some berries, add you know, something to your carnivore diet a little bit, just to make sure, like we were talking about, like the vitamin C concern with my mom and stuff. You know, so it's like I'm being honest. I'm not like totally indoctrinated. Oh, a carnivore diet. You know, like I'm just gonna listen to what Sean Baker and Ken Berry say, and I'm just gonna like regurgitate because like that's exactly what the vegan community are doing. It's like I'm concerned about nutrients if I'm doing a carnivore diet. I'm concerned about, you know, making sure I understand cholesterol and fat when I was doing the ketogenic diet. It's like you're not concerned. Like I pop up the beta carotene conversion to active vitamin A, you know, and I'm like showing them, like, look, it says 5 to 65%. So then I'm trying to implement their worldview and say, okay, so if we're pushing this on the global population, which is what a vegan wants to do, the end of any animal food, what if this person is being pushed into veganism, or globally we have no choice, and they're like a horrible 5% converter, you know? And what about the offspring of these women that are still trying to procreate, and they have an insanely deficient vitamin A? You'll have like kids born without, like the pigs, without eyeballs, you know? And it's like, what about the omega? It's like, how are you guys going to fix your omega-6 to 3 ratio? It's like, no concerns. All you'll hear at best is supplement. And that's why that's why Jeffrey doesn't like the word natural, because people that are talking about natural are always bringing it back to how we used to eat and stuff like that. Look at did you ever see Naked and Afraid? It was when I used to have cable, it was a show where you're naked and you have to survive, and they go all around the world, all sorts of weird areas that are really rough and rugged. And I think they made it so that you're allowed to have one item, you know, whether it's a fire starter, a pot, or a knife or something like that. And it's 31 days they had to last. And then they made it even more, I think, double that. And they just watched what they do. It's like, did anybody go after any plants or anything? No, they were all looking for animals. You know, it's because we live in this like decadent, out of the real world, decadent societies that they have the luxury to say like, oh, I'm going to eat this way and I have supplements for everything. It's like the fact that you need supplements means that there's something wrong, because humans didn't even know what the hell nutrients in a way were. Like there's no science and recommended values and stuff like that. They just ate animal food without knowing it. And I'd say they did know it, because if you look at the cultures in nutrition, physical degeneration, and they would space out the pregnancies. They would feed specific animal food, mostly organs, to pregnant women. So actually, without science, humans figured it out, you know. And it's like they're trying to, I don't know. It just nothing makes sense from their ideology. They're not concerned, and I'm like, how can you not be concerned? Like, how can't you be concerned? Just with vitamin A, I'd be concerned. I'd be like, what if I'm a 5% converter? You know, very.
Well, the other thing is that they don't consider is, and even most anti-vegans don't really think very much about the process, the manufacturing process to create these supplements that vegans are reliant upon.
Yeah.
It's very petroleum dependent. It's coal dependent. Most people, when you say the phrase coke ovens, they think of cocaine, but let me show you.
Sure.
Yeah, I know that B12. I've looked at B12. I know that B12 requires coke ovens. You know, the vegans think that there's either a wizard with a magic wand making these supplements, or some nice-looking man in a white coat making these supplements in a pristine laboratory somewhere where they just kind of conjure up these supplements out of thin air.
Yeah.
But no, they're very energy intensive, and they're very resource intensive to produce.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then to like go ship it all around the world.
So coke ovens are required to manufacture so-called vegan B12. There is no such thing. But yeah, coke oven emissions, cancer-causing substances. Groups sue Trump's EPA for coke oven cancer pollution. Coke ovens, evidence of lung cancer. The tragedy of North Birmingham, which is a town that's got coke ovens nearby. So they're all breathing, you know, they have entire towns that are coming down with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Coke oven emission cases.
Coke plant. Protecting coke oven. Oh. New York.
Yeah, this is one of the, you know, this is something right here that I tell you about. Here, I'll remove that while I get that commercial out of the way. But yeah, they'll say, well, that's just you mean plants don't have B12? Oh, well, that's just a supplement issue. All we have to do is get you some supplements, and that'll fix that. That's not a problem. It's not a problem. But then if you ask them, well, how is B12 manufactured? And they'll just turn and say, in a laboratory. Because that's the simpleton way of thinking about it, because moving past the simpleton mentality when it comes to how these supplements are created gets them in trouble. It exposes veganism as being extremely destructive.
Well, and it's progressing into more silliness. It's like one of the comments that I had underneath, and they were like, well, what was it? Oh, the animals need to be injected with B12 also because the soil is depleted of cobalamin. And I was like, no.
They don't even say that. They say it's depleted of B12.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
They don't
even know what cobalamin is.
It requires cobalamin.
Yeah. So I was like, no. I said B12 is created by bacterial fermentation in ruminant animals. I said, well, probably not just ruminant animals, but yeah, like I knew that it's like, no, B12 is created. Just like I was saying, there's no nutrients in that grass, but that cow's going to eat it, and he's going to give us pretty much every single thing that we need. Now, oh yeah, like the when I was still questioning you about asking you about the vitamin C and stuff like that. Now, there is, right, vitamin C in certain organs. If somebody was, let's say, like that Stephenson there guy that ate caribou or something for a year. So if you were screwed and you had no fruits and vegetables, could you survive completely if you're eating all aspects of the cow, vitamin C included, or you're skeptical of the vitamin C one?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. No, I'm asking you. Like, not because I know or not. I'm asking, like, what do you think? Because I'm trying to figure that out. And
what are you asking me? Are you asking me? Okay, let me show you.
Like, I'm asking you a hypothetical question, as if you had access to a cow and you were eating all aspects of the cow, because you had, for an extended period of time, there was no fruits, no vegetables. So none of the typical, oh, my camera's up. None of the typical vitamin C that you get, in fruit, citrus, and I mean, in most of it, you don't have to worry, right? If you're eating a wide variety. So if you were screwed and you were just eating a cow, but you were eating the organs, you were eating, the nose to tail, like the carnivore people like to say, would you get it in the organs? Are there some? Because I've read stuff like the thymus.
I told you the other day that there were. That's why I was telling you that.
I want to make sure, though. That's why.
That's why I was telling you that the advice that you're getting from Bart and Barry, that's bad advice, because when you omit organ meats like liver, then you're omitting the very wonderful type of vitamin C that's in organ meats.
Okay.
But can you see on your screen right there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's the vitamin C in ground beef.
Mm-hmm.
How much does it say?
0.
All right. Now you won't find a source that tells you that there's some amount. You can claim that there's trace amounts, but if you're trying to get enough to stay healthy, why are you pursuing trace amounts of vitamin C?
Yeah, because if you're trying to do that, then you're almost becoming like a cultish and vegan. Like, no, like I want to live solely off of the animal food. Like, I wanted to know, I wanted to make sure. So, because I don't feel comfortable telling people, like, oh no, like if you're eating meat, because that's what they're saying, right? If you're eating meat, you don't, there's some there. There's enough to stave off scurvy and stuff like that.
Right.
But that's not true. And especially, like I said, even if the fresh meat hypothesis that if it's fresh meat, it's grass-fed, there's enough there. Well, who has access to fresh meat? Like, is store-bought meat considered fresh? Probably not. Like, what do they mean by fresh meat? Like, I have to go out in the field and like slaughter it, and while it's warm, still eat it. So you would consider these carnivore extremists like, no, I don't eat organs. All I do is eat steaks, like ribeyes, and I'm not going to catch scurvy.
That at best is dogmatic. At best, it's dogmatic. We've already. I mean, here, what does it say here? This is vitamin C in beef liver.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 20.1 milligrams of vitamin C there, and that's not the kind of vitamin C that you get in plants. It's just like any other vitamin. There's a plant version and an animal version, and the animal version is always more effective. Okay, the animal version is always more effective. There will be claims. You'll find claims that vitamin C is better. The plant version of vitamin C is better at reducing oxidative stress. However, it's not oxidative stress that causes scurvy. So the scurvy issue is more handled by the animal version of vitamin C.
Usual.
Yeah. And so in beef liver, we've got 20.1 milligrams, and in ground beef, there's 0.
Okay.
So you see, going back to your question is, yes, if you were eating nose to tail in nature, could you eat all animals and get your vitamin C? Yes, right there. And it's in the liver, and it's also going to be in the kidneys. It's probably going to be in the heart. It's going to be in the organ meats.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the organ meats.
So it's actually like kind of dangerous what they're saying, like especially Sean Baker then about he just eats those ribeyes. That's it.
Yeah, I think that my opinion is that's horrible advice. It's dangerous advice, and potentially influencer advice. In other words, that's something that the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, because they're pursuing the plant protein business, they would like for people to eat a carnivore diet that's meat only, and then turn around and get certain diseases from not having enough, for instance, vitamin C, because they've cut out the organ meats. And then the plant-based community can point at all those carnivores and go, see, they got sick on a carnivore diet. And then there I am saying, but they weren't eating organ meats. They weren't eating organ meats. And there's Bart going, organ meats are dangerous. Organ meats are dangerous.
I haven't followed that guy. Like I know who he is.
He's an idiot.
What did he say about organ meats? How are
the last thing I heard him say about organ meats is that they either should not be eaten. This is what I remember him saying, that either they should not be eaten or they should be eaten very infrequently in very small amounts.
Why? What's that rationale for?
There was no rationale. Just all I heard was that statement. It wasn't preempted or followed up with any supporting information. It was just a statement.
Okay. So that's that. So Sean and Bart K are like that. What about Paul Saladino?
I believe that Dr. Berry is saying the same thing.
He's not.
I do not think that he.
Organ.
I don't think. I am not absolutely sure. Maybe someone in the comments can tell us, but I don't remember him being supportive of the consumption of organ meats.
Yeah. Alex Wilder says people need 70 to 90 milligrams per day of vitamin C. So tell me again if this is right, because this was years ago when I was in keto, so I was getting some information here and there. I think we spoke about it, but I wanted to bring it because Alex was talking about like the daily requirement. And I might get it somewhere wrong, but the main gist of it is that somebody who has a high carbohydrate diet, lots of glucose that they're ingesting, will require higher amounts of vitamin C, because it's like the glucose and the vitamin C compete for the same entry. So that if you're reducing your carbohydrates, you don't require as much vitamin C. Is that true?
I believe that's true. However, if someone is eating just muscle meats, and muscle meats contain 0 vitamin C, and by not eating any carbohydrates, you're reducing, not removing, you're reducing your need for vitamin C. Then you explain to me how 0 vitamin C can serve a body that just needs lower amounts of vitamin C.
No, that doesn't make sense. No, of course, that doesn't make any sense.
Okay. Then I'm not crazy, right?
No, I'm on the same like it makes sense. Makes
Okay.
sense.
I want to address this comment here by Alex Wilder. He says the vitamin B12 component in B12 supplements and fortified foods is made by bacteria and sourced from bacteria cultures. So there's this vegan lie that you can get bioactive B12 from bacteria. And they like to tell the lie that one of the reasons why we're deficient is because we wash our vegetables, and that maybe we should just leave the dirt on our vegetables and then we wouldn't be deficient in B12. Well, the problem with that is that the B12 that is produced by bacteria is produced by a type of bacteria called cyanobacteria. And cyanobacteria produce a type of B12 called cyanocobalamin. So I want to read you this quote from a very well-respected pediatrician. And he says, vegetarians and vegans face a high risk of deficiency, talking about B12, because only a few plant foods like fungi and tempeh contain vitamin B12. And this occurs as cyanocobalamin, which means which we cannot use until it is converted into methylcobalamin. So methylcobalamin is the B12 that you get from in large healthy amounts from beef liver and duck liver, and in decent amounts from ground beef and sirloin. It's bioactive in human beings. The cyanocobalamin is not bioactive in human beings. So that's why he says this occurs as cyanocobalamin, which we cannot use until it is converted to methylcobalamin. Yet the conversion rate for healthy adults is less than 10%. For infants and the elderly, it is close to zero. Now, I will interject here. It's important to note that more times than not that I've seen, physicians, even in the elderly, when they give a B12 injection, they're giving a cyanocobalamin injection, which is not bioactive in humans.
Yeah.
And in old people and in infants, they cannot convert the inactive cyanocobalamin into the active methylcobalamin. So I'll complete the quote here. Yeah. Vegetarians and vegans face a high risk of deficiency because only a few. I guess I've written that twice. Sorry. So that's Ang Poon Liet, consultant pediatrician at Thompson Pediatric Center and Thompson Medical Center. There's the link to his book at Amazon. It's called The Nutritional Roadmaps Recovery, if you want to get that. But that is that's the truth regarding cyanocobalamin. There's a lot of vegans out there that are consuming supplements in the form of cyanocobalamin, B12 supplements, and then they go to their doctor. And their physician does not know this. Their physician does not know that whenever he tests the blood for serum content of B12, well, guess what? All the cobalamins will register on that test. So they can have blood full of cyanocobalamin, and it will tell the doctor that, yes, this individual has plenty of vitamin B12. However, 0% of that cyanocobalamin in that vegan's blood is bioactive. It's even a double harmful because not only is it in the blood telling the doctor and everyone that they've got plenty of B12 when they don't, but also that cyanocobalamin fits nice and snugly into the receptor sites that the methylcobalamin is supposed to be fitting into. So it's like all the pews in the church are already full of bodies, but they're mannequins. And so when real people come into the church and want to have a seat and listen to the preacher or the priest, there's no place to sit. So the methylcobalamin, if it ever makes it into the body that's been supplementing cyanocobalamin, the methylcobalamin can't get its job done because there's no receptor sites open for it because they're all occupied by the bioactively inactive cyanocobalamin.
Yeah, it's called competitive antagonists.
Yes.
The same effect happens when your ratio of omega-6 to 3 is out of whack. The omega-3 that you are consuming doesn't get in either because there's so much omega-6 in the entry points also. Competitive antagonist, which is a lot of plant foods. That's what happens. First of all, you'll have the on paper in a form, so you'll have these nutrients in form like minerals and iron or something like that. You have it in a form that is, first of all, not easily absorbed, not easily converted, or not bio available. And on top of it, you'll have these anti-nutrients that are blocking, even if you had the good compound, that are blocking. And they're eating this in masses. It's insane. There's so much evidence. It's like, guys, it's like people are making videos about losing their period, about hair loss, about brain fog. It's like, hey, look, these studies, people are pointing out where you're getting this. Oh, well, we can supplement. Okay, well, this guy shows evidence that these supplements aren't even that absorbable. It's like there's so much to worry about. And they're pushing this, I wonder if cod liver would have traces of vitamin C, if it would be the same. That I can't. I've been trying to find.
Well, there is a problem with cod liver oil, if that's what you're talking
about. The actual cod liver, like I don't trust the oils because they're probably rancid or there's no way of knowing. Like I don't know how good it is. I have like cod liver in a can. So, and when you open it up, it's filled with oil. So I drink that. But I was doing that, when I was saying sorry, I'll let you talk. My mom is having spine surgery. Well, she's probably already have it. My dad just tried to call me. Just do some. I'm just going to call, obviously. Don't want to miss that call. I'll be back, JD.
All right. You said you wanted to know the vitamin C content.
Yeah, you can check that out.
I've got it. I'll pull it up here. In a minute. Let me look at the So I hope, Alex Wilder, I hope you learned something there about cyanocobalamin and methylcobalamin. If you're not on the same page yet, just let me know and I'll straighten you out. Gate smasher. Gas keeps going up. City people are going to have to live as a vegan. I was in a grocery store and seen the price of meat. Holy moly. Yeah, that's what I told people was coming. People need 75 to 90 milligrams per day of vitamin C. Natives that lived on plains of West and eating buffalo or elk survived. I just eat. I eat lots of ultra processed foods. I like Hostess, cheese, Danishes.
What?
Last I knew, Kim Berry says liver is okay. It's just that he pushes beef, bacon, butter, and eggs most of the time. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, that's the only. You're not going to get vitamin C in beef, bacon, butter, or eggs. I don't know about the eggs. I have to look. But liver's got a lot of it.
Ok, ouais,
Liver once a week, yes.
Je veux juste savoir dire c'est bye, puis je m'en vais.
I like it too. Had some for breakfast. I guess you're talking about liver. Liver's delicious for breakfast. Hi, Keith.
Ah, c'est bon. Ouais, parce que quand j'ai parlé, c'est quand tu disais, ouais, elle a soin.
I want some. I only rarely have chicken liver. I have perfected my pan cooking though. That's good. Let us know what your recipe is so that we can share it with others. I just like it sauteed in just lightly sauteed, not cooked through and through, but lightly sauteed in ghee, which is clarified butter, because ghee has for several reasons, but one is ghee has a higher smoke point than most other cooking fats. He still has his Christmas tree up. I didn't notice that. Jason still got his Christmas tree up. Excited to start fishing this summer. Me too. I can't wait. I have a river just down the lane. I heard natives, plains people were 10 feet tall. Maybe they were, perhaps. I haven't seen direct evidence. I fish a lot. I fish a lot too. I've got a windmill that feeds a windmill that used to feed. It's been out of order for about 8 years now, but I need to get it going again. It slightly feeds a pond that stays pretty stocked with bass. All right, here he is.
Still here.
Face, Jason.
Just a minute. I'm back. Start cam. There. Am I still here? Yeah.
Okay, so here's the vitamin C content of cod liver.
0 or? Yeah, 0.
Yeah.
Wonder why. Why would the other organs of like land animals? Yeah. I was just curious. Good, thank you. Because that's what I was eating when. Hey, you know what? It's worth for the viewers to mention, because that's pretty important. Let's say if you're suspecting somebody that has a B12 deficiency, you said that concoction there, you'll have to buy methylcobalamin online, the price of Coke. And then there's that other 4-letter thing there. Tell people, because it's important. For elderly people, tell them the possible symptoms of B12 deficiency, and if you suspect that thing that you did, that you rubbed on the skin, that actually absorbs the B12, because I've never heard of that. And if people know the symptoms, they could look at their parents if they're older, if they start complaining about nerve issues and stuff like that. Because I'm definitely trying what you told me for my mom, because she has like ringing in the ears. I remember her talking about that, and she was saying that she feels like there's a vibration through her whole body. So there's a lot of nerve things. I'm gonna try that for sure. You're gonna have to send me a link though of where you think would be credible methylcobalamin to buy online, because I don't want to get they could call it anything, and it's not really that.
Okay. Let me pull up some information here real quick.
Okay. It's getting cold in here.
Let's see. I don't know if anyone here watching this stream has seen my video on how I make this stuff, but let's see if I can find it. It worked for me, my mother especially. She can really tell the big difference. But vitamin B12 is water soluble, so it's one of those vitamins that, as long as you don't go crazy with it, if you get just a little excess, you'll urinate it out of the body.
Okay.
but I'll go ahead and I'll pull up some methylcobalamin. I told you it's expensive if you buy just the powder. It's like almost like, yeah, here's a little. Yeah, let me see. This is where I bought mine. Now, I prefer to get my B12 or methylcobalamin from beef liver or duck liver or chicken liver. However, as we were talking about earlier, Jason.
Yeah, the absorption for old people.
Yes, the elderly have a hard time absorbing dietary B12.
And my mom had C. difficile. So that must have ruined her gut also. So it's quite possible because she might have had this C. difficile resistant bacteria for a long time. Then finally, and now with all the antibiotics that she took, her gut flora, I'm sure that there's issues. And on top, I don't know if that would affect it, but she definitely has IBS since she got her gallbladder out, and that was like decades ago. So there is digestive issues that could affect it. So okay, that's what you showed. Okay, so how much is it? Holy smacks!
Yeah,
that
that's for a tiny. That's for 25 grams. You know,
but if you make that topical thing, you'll have it for a good amount.
Yeah,
right?
it just takes a tiny little bit.
Well, I'm gonna have anyway. She's paying for it. I'll be like, Mom, I'm gonna help you, but you're paying for it. Okay, let me take a picture.
All right.
No. Perfect.
All right.
You can take it out.
So,
okay, and you mix that with.
I mixed that with DMSO, which I'm about to show you.
Good.
DMSO serves as a carrier to enhance the penetration of various agents through the skin into underlying synovial, connective, and interstitial tissues. So it's almost like an injection when you use this.
Let me just, and where did you, just go back? Oh, it's okay.
This is what I buy here.
Yeah, it showed me once, just a minute. And you bought it from that place?
Yeah.
Amazon? Oh, it's just from Amazon? Okay. All right, I'm 100% doing that. Anyways, my mom got out of the spine surgery there. She's good. She survived.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I already have like numbness in my thighs from I forget which there's something it's a syndrome that's very often it doesn't affect the motor nerves but the sensory nerves. So this one's getting numb, but the left one's numb, and that's just from compression on the lower vertebrae. So, and I already have spinal stenosis on the top of my neck. So I guess I'll have that surgery eventually too. It'll be like a family surgery.
Oh yeah, everyone gets surgery.
I'm convinced that my stenosis up in my cervical is literally from years of wasting my time on the phone bent over, because I used to play that game, like I said. And I remember sometimes I'd be like holding it up. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so this is how I supplement vitamin B12, methylcobalamin. I'm not telling anyone to do this. I'm not recommending it.
Yeah.
I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. It's just me telling you what I do.
Yeah. And I asked. It really does look like
Spilled a little bit. So I basically took one of those little blue vials like that to my mother, and she was, like I say, she had severe brain fog. She couldn't concentrate. She had vertigo, dizziness, ringing in her ears, you name it. She had numbness in her feet, numbness in her fingers, tingling sensations, and I brought her one of those blue vials, just like that, and she started putting that on her forearm, just like I showed you in that video. And the next morning when I showed up, she was bouncing around like a little girl, and was getting all this work done around the house that had been piling up on her. And,
I'm 100% trying this. 100%.
Do what?
I'm 100% trying this with my mom. Can't hurt. What are you going to lose? It's weird that the vegan community wouldn't be like a known thing, a rampant like thing that passes around,
Yeah.
It's like don't tell them.
You would think that they would be very educated on B12 and methylcobalamin and the fact that the bacteria B12 is not bioactive in human beings. But, I think it boils down to the fact that it's just a cult and they don't really care about the facts as long as they have that sense of belonging to the group.
Well, I mean, like so often they say it's like, well, veganism isn't a diet. It happens to be extremely healthy, but that's not why, a vegan does it. It's really for the animals. It's like, okay, that's why it's impossible for them to ever acknowledge the crop deaths and the wildlife dying, from the rodenticides, the insecticides, all the anticoagulants, the warfarin and stuff like that causes them to bleed out, shooting them, displacing them, polluting, water streams and stuff, because all those things, right?
Yeah.
No
They're not no.
zones.
So they only care about the cute. You know, they only care about what, 5 animals then?
Yeah,
Pigs,
just the farm
chickens,
animals,
cows.
and they want not only do they only care about farm animals, but ultimately they want all the farm animals wiped out. They want them to go extinct.
Yeah.
They don't want them bred into existence, as they put it.
Yeah.
So they would prefer that all domesticated animals be removed from the face of the earth, and that we rely upon plants. And we're not herbivores. You know, we're mammals, but we're not herbivores. We do not have a functioning rumen, and we do not have a functioning cecum. And to be an herbivorous mammal, you have to have one of the two. You have to either have a functioning rumen or a functioning semen, or you're going to be sick or dead.
It's like Jeffrey Phillips said that. Well, no, it wasn't him. You know, who was it? Anyways, the video that he sent us there, that was supposed to be a game changer or something, when they said, like, and obviously he believes it if he sent the damn video, and he's like, there's not everyone's evolved, but there's some people that are evolved that are able to live and sustain and receive all their nutrients from breathing and sun and from sunshine. That, like, I always say that as a joke, like, oh yeah, you know, first it's veganism, then after it's raw fruit, vegan, you know, fruitarian, then it's breatharian. But that guy said it in the video. I would never. That's like having like a video and all of a sudden, like, you know, flat Earth pops up and you're like, damn it, the video is really good, but this guy's talking about flat Earth now. I can't show this. It's like he was just like fine with. So I'm listening to this guy talk for half an hour, and he brings up the fact that we can technically, if we were evolved enough and our vibration and frequency was high enough, we could extract everything from the air and sun. So it's because we're not evolved. And that video also said that animals didn't eat animals, and that animals had a much higher level of consciousness, and that it's when they started eating other animals, it dumbed them down, and now animals are just below us in consciousness. But at one point they were like us, which is exactly what we say, that they think they live in Disneyland, where the animals are anthropomorphic. We have to do a video response on that 30-minute thing.
Yeah,
they would make great content.
Yeah, we
and it's like, okay, well, what about this? You know, they have, what is it? Those two vegans or annoying vegans. They're a couple, and they have a pet chicken. You know, like a family that's a family member.
Those annoying vegans.
Yeah, I think it might be them. So the eggs that the chicken is laying, they're feeding it back to the chicken. So, like, why can't I have 12 chickens that are my pets, but they happen to create breakfast that I either throw away or I feed it to them, and it doesn't matter because it's going to happen over and over? Why can't I consume that? It's a chicken, and I'm saying it's a pet, and I'm protecting it, and I'm giving it food, and it happens to be plopping out these amazing food sources. But on principle, I'll say no. How does that make any sense? They do eat it.
It doesn't, because there's nothing about veganism that actually does make sense, starting with the gargantuan and exponentially higher amount of animal suffering and death that goes along with the crop agriculture that provides the vegan menu.
Yeah.
But starting there and moving to the fact that bacterial cyanocobalamin B12 does not work. The fact that the nutritional deficiencies that are inherent in the diet, they will deny, even though mainstream doctors and even the medical industry admits that there are inherent deficiencies with veganism. So
they recanted. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thought, JD.
I think it's about ego.
Well, I mean, definitely ego comes in, but I'm gonna bring out my Christian guy here, but if you like the narrative, the storyline is that we were in the Garden of Eden and we were fruitarians or whatever. We definitely didn't require animal food.
Well,
then after
by not requiring animal foods does not mean that we were fruitarians.
No, but like just for simple, it's like we're in the garden and there's definitely no animal eating, but there's a fall that occurs, and they say that now the land will have thorns and thistles. So there is some kind of metaphysical change that's occurring where whatever we were in the Bible story in the garden, we are no longer. So now all of creation becomes, changed, and there's thorns, and now so we're not in the garden anymore. And then after at the end in Revelation, and there's even that thing like the wolf and the lion or something will lie together and a child will lead them. So at the end of the story, again, there's a Eden restored, and again, even the predator animals in the storyline are no longer eating. So there's another metaphysical change that occurs. And I like how Satan will always use God's plan, and he'll just tweak it. So it's like when they say that we're not spiritual because we're killing animals, as a Christian, I see that sin brought death to creation and to man. And this is a constant reminder, and that's what the Jews were doing, slaughtering a non-blemished lamb over and over and over again, saying, you see this? Now the innocent, they die. But through Christ, there'll be a renewal, and then Eden will be restored. So it's like, it's natural to not enjoy it. I mean, you remember ancestors used to put the bison pictures in the caves, and stuff like that. Like they had reverence for it, and they realized that the animal lost their life. There was respect for that. And I see it as spiritual. It's a constant reminder that, look, now all of creation requires death. Some animals eat other animals. Animals eat plants. Humans eat plants. Then after animals and plants, they die. Organic matter goes into the soil. Then the plants grow from that. So the plants are feeding on death. Everything, the whole cycle is death for life in this present state. So Satan plays on the heartstrings of people, because deep inside, we don't want to kill the animals, but we live in reality. So I find it's like the devil's deception, where he's like, that I'm going to get you guys to the Garden of Eden where there's no more death and no more suffering, but I'm going to do it, this way. It's just like transhumanism, the desire to live forever. It's like, these are all promises that God says in the end that he'll accomplish, but veganism and all these movements and transhumanism movements and stuff like that are trying to achieve all of the promises at the end of the book, but through our own means. That's just through my Christianity, that's something kind of that popped out. And I used to tell them, like, I said, look, if I can get all the nutrients to thrive in plants, we just finally figured that out, I'd be like, yeah, of course. Like, why would I eat an animal if I didn't, required to do it. And they say that
because producing plants kills exponentially more animals than you would have to kill. This is the case. This is what this is that, yes, of course, human beings should not relish in torturing animals.
No, they say we do.
That is psychopathic. Torturing animals leads to torturing humans. However, that is not what we do in animal agriculture. We do not torture animals. In fact, we go through great cost and pain and time and effort to make sure that when we have to slaughter an animal, we do it as quickly and painlessly as possible.
Yeah.
Now, all of the propaganda films that you've seen that the vegans love to bathe in have many of them have actually been exposed as having been staged by vegan propagandists. So they're actually torturing. You've got vegans torturing animals in order to turn people against animal agriculture.
Yeah, it's for a good cause, you know?
Yeah, the end justifies the means kind of the thing.
Yeah.
But going back to slaughtering animals is that it is a necessity.
Yeah.
And the idea that, well, yeah, if you could get all of your nutrients from plants, then I wouldn't be eating animals. But you cannot remove death from the picture.
No, because they're going to suffer too in the wild.
The plants themselves require animal activity and animal death in order to thrive.
Yeah,
and,
like the pruning.
And when you get into the industrial crop agriculture required to produce the amount of plant foods for a large human population, then you have to displace all kinds of animals' habitats, and you're going to be killing animals in the process. You'll be harming the environment in the process, and you're going to have to protect those crops, because anyone that's had a successful gardening experience knows that once you start growing food outdoors, then animals will come a-running, because they can sense it, they can see it, they can smell it, they can see it from the sky. They know whenever there's ripe tomatoes on the vine nearby, and the squirrels will come down. And if you're a gardener who plans on keeping his tomatoes, then you're going to have some way to dispatch of those squirrels. So we need to dispatch once and for all this idea that there is a kinder, gentler way to eat other than eating meat, because there's not. Eating plants, so even if you could get all of your vitamins and minerals from plants, which you cannot, if you could, you would still have to kill more animals than you would kill if you were eating a primarily meat-based diet. That is not going to change. And the idea that it will change is fantasy. Now, a lot of the aversion we have to killing animals comes from what I call the Walt Disney-ification of our society. Walt Disney worked for the Seventh-day Adventists. He got his start working for Dr. Post from Post Toasties and Post Cereal.
Okay.
And then they were such a success with that marketing, anthropomorphizing human prey animals like rabbits and other animals that human beings would eat. They would anthropomorphize them. So it started with Post, and then Kellogg jumped on the train, and then Dr. Graham from the Graham Cracker, he jumped on the train. And so what they've been doing over the past 100 years is giving us entertainment that will anthropomorphize animals so that we have this extreme aversion to killing them and think that killing animals is this terrible, 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 terrible thing to do. The worst thing you can do.
I mean, if you look at shepherds,
Is that no, if you grow up killing animals for food, you don't have to enjoy it or relish in it or froth at the mouth like a psychopathic idiot, but just doing it because it's a job that has to be done without any type of
just the reality
of crying and carrying on like an infant. So what has happened is that the human race has been infantilized, and so that we look at animals as our friends. Well, yeah, if you have a pet, that can be like a friend, but there's really no real friend like a human being. And there's no animal that can be a friend to you like a human being can be a friend to you. So the vegan misanthropy is another evil that comes along with a plant-based diet. But I just want to make everyone understand, and it needs to be crystal clear, that killing animals for food is not evil. It's not wrong. It's not bad. It's a neutral thing. It's the way you can look at it as
the reality.
God created it that way, or that's the way nature evolved, but it's natural. It's good. It's the way it's supposed to be. But that doesn't mean that to kill animals that you have to be a bloodthirsty, Neanderthal beast that's blood.
That's what they say.
That's not how meat eaters.
That's the thing. They put those words, in our mouth. I mean, when you looked at what the ranchers did, or before, geez, I just forgot. Shepherds, when they were shepherding the animals, it's like they were giving them what they wanted. They were protecting them from predators. If you have a very, very sharp knife and you just go right away, the knife doesn't even hurt. You want it to hurt, you stab somebody with a freaking spoon or a butter knife. But something sharp, I mean, I had a thing go across my arm and I didn't even realize it. People get stabbed with sharp knives in fights and stuff, and then they don't realize until they feel something wet and they look and they realize they got stabbed. It's like it's the animal. What is ethical is to put the animal in its natural habitat as best we can, a protected natural habitat, and make sure that they're protected from predators, because in the wild, right, they would be eaten balls first, right alive, right? So it's like, how is that not suffering? And I've heard vegans that are so delusional that they're talking about doing something to the predators so that they don't, or killing the predators so that there's no more predators eating the prey. When, at least one thing I've learned from you is that because of the predators, the ruminant animals herd together because their chance of survival is better if they're in a large group of hundreds than out alone. And they'll constantly move because of those predators, because if they stayed in the same spot, right, they would just eat everything and destroy it. So it's like nature set it up where these predators have a purpose, and everything's symbiotic. The predators force them to gather together to keep on moving. That replenishes the soil. If there's no predators, then
Yeah, I want to show you this clip right here from Bambi.
Yeah.
Now this is after the evil hunters entered the picture. Now listen closely to what Bambi's mother says. Did you hear that?
No, the volume was low. That's why I'm like.
All right.
Is the volume up on that? It's maxed?
The volume up is as high as I can get it.
Okay.
Okay, so she says it's safe now, Bambi. You can come out. He comes
Heard
out.
that? Yeah.
He says, Mommy, what happened? Why did we all run? And she looks around and she looks back at him and says, man.
Man.
Right? It's not only demonizing hunters, but this is that vegan mentality. This is one of the roots of vegan mentality where man himself is being demonized, right? I mean, 9 times out of 10, when you hear someone say, man is a virus, humankind is a virus on this planet, it's usually a vegan. It's usually a vegan saying something like that.
Or an elite.
So
or
listen,
an elite.
man. So, this is kind of, believe it or not, this movie right here is actually responsible for a lot of people going vegan. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you can see right now what they're doing is, I had mentioned this, but I'll camera to you. It's like, here's the humans and here's animals.
The thing that's
and
different about
they're
a verbal
treating us like animals more and more, and they're treating animals like humans. It's like they want to set the animals free, but then after they want to lock us, it's in 15-minute smart cities and stuff like that, herding us into cities and outside of the rule. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's on every single level you look, and it's all, there's so many cracks. It's just, in my opinion, it's just a superficial somebody that's like, oh my God, they do that. I don't want to do that. Completely, ignorant initially because initially they're just ignorant of the reality of things, right? It's just a movie. It's set up. It's traumatizing. And any normal person would be like, well, geez, I don't want to support that. But then after they never learn about the reality of life, they're in an echo chamber with these activists, YouTube channels there that are, the vegan channels. They do these propaganda documentaries that, are on Netflix just to gather those mindless Netflix people. But then they get entrenched so much in this, and it becomes like a cult and an identity that they have to be ignorant of all of the cracks. It's just, I don't know. It's wrong, like you said, on all level. Like animals living in the wild would go through like starvation. They'd starve to death. They would get droughts. Imagine dying of thirst. They'd be eaten alive by predators. They get some infection and just slowly die of that process. And if they're weak or sick, certain animals will push them out of the tribe. Just out of the herd and stuff like that. Like for animals in the wild, it is struggle and suffering. So it's like now what we want to do is domesticate them, put them in a natural habitat, let them eat the natural free food that's God given. It's not even costing us anything. We just have to find the space, and then you kill them. And like I said, a quick slice of the carotid, that's it. I mean, some people stand up too fast if they have orthostatic hypotension and they feel like passing out. It's not painful at all. You're out within, which I think that's kind of was the idea even for religious cultures, the halal meat. I don't know the process. I'm sure it's an old school process, and the Jews to make it kosher and stuff too. They probably old school it, and I know I was talking to one Muslim and he said, yeah, even the way you approach it, for, not face on and stuff like that. It's all done to make it swift and it's respectful. People used to give thanks, and for the Christian, it is spiritual because it's a constant reminder that we were living in paradise and that there's a way back to it. And this is the reminder why all of creation has fallen. Everything relies on killing to survive. It's a lesson. That's the way I see it. And I see that as much more spiritual than saying like, oh, I don't want to eat death and that. Even if it's like 20 times more animals are dying, okay, let's 20 times more animals are dying because of food, like these meat eaters compared to them, okay. And even with the shitty standards that you might see, with some large feedlot stuff, it's still in the wild, they would suffer at the end tremendously. So they're not reducing suffering. And on top of it, this is us, let's say, even the unethical, bad store places, they're not wasting time torturing the cow either. It's a money process, maybe it'll be more cruder, I guess, but it's like they just want to get the process done. The cows die quickly anyways, instead of being eaten alive in the wild, or slowly die of an injury, a broken leg or something. Maybe you break your leg and then after you're dehydrated while you're getting infected, and then you don't even die from that. Some animal comes along because you're lying there. They're not removing suffering at all. And in fact, they're increasing suffering because there's nothing more evil than to create a weak next generation, right? So you have all these nutritional deficiencies, and then after we have babies, and these babies are born, all sorts of ailments now. They all seem to be autistic, and they're looking what's causing it. And it's like, yeah, well, no one's thinking of nutritional deficiencies. Like in the West, having a small jawline is actually, we consider aesthetic, right? But all of these teeth crowding that we see, the wisdom teeth that dentists make fortunes on, just pulling wisdom teeth every time somebody goes through puberty. Somebody once told me, I was like, why don't those teeth fit in our jaw? I was like, what were people doing before? Like, why is the body screwed up and not smart? And it's like, growing where there's no room. Somebody says it was evolution. And I was like, then I read Weston A. Price's book, Nutrition, Physical Degeneration. And they're like, oh no, that's a nutrient deficiency. The West is all deficient in nutrients, excess calories, and we're eating processed food and we're not getting nutrients. So, and nasal congestion, like I have a huge nose. You would think that I can breathe great. It's like chronic nasal congestion, and that I think it's the nasal cavities. The whole bone structure is not at its full potential because of nutrient deficiencies. That's why teeth don't fit. You can see the pictures there in the Weston A. Price's book. Like they all look like super large jawlines, large bridges on their nose. So we're already a sick, nutrient deficient global society, even even in the rich developed countries, and now they're going to make us go vegan. That's like one generation. Then the next generation, we might make it to the next generation. They're going to be nutrient deficient babies. They're not going to be fully developed, and then after they're going to get nutrient, and just within the third generation, we're a bunch of 4'8". What's that iodine deficiency there? Cretins. 4'8" cretins, easy to control. easy to control the population. Only the selected people are able to breed, because obviously they're not stupid. They know exactly what the body needs to thrive. They're aware of meat being healthy for you. They'll have all that. They'll decide who procreates, and that's a way of getting that eugenics program, that they've always wanted to use. If people that never heard of eugenics and stuff like that, it's almost like the idea of animals and animal shows and stuff like that. You breed like the best, the thoroughbreds, and you try and like perfect. Well, so any human that's born with any disease, sterilized, if not eventually just kill them, and any defects in babies, aborted. And what they're hoping is weeding out all of the genetic flaws and stuff, and just breeding the best humans. And we can use this eugenics to create the perfect race. Like that was being done, even in the 20th century, early 20th century. There's like American associations for that. I believe that Bill Gates' father was involved with that. So they're just going to rebrand eugenics, and it makes sense, right? Because I'm not worried about the earth and the soil. They know bloody well how to replenish stuff. They are doing this until we're locked in boxes and trapped. And then after, everything else around will be in the evil people's mind, a lush garden. They're going to recreate Eden. They're going to eat beef. They're going to have the beautiful oceans. They're going to be able to fly around all around the world, and we'll be stuck 4'8" cretins, unable to reproduce.
Well,
the working class, like where they, and we're not even getting into CRISPR. Just imagine CRISPR technology, like the gene editing. It's like, people will be like, not only buying their groceries, they'll be like on websites saying, I want blue eyes, I want this height. It's like, because that's what Noah Yuval Harari said. He goes, in the future, body, brains, and minds will be the commodity. That it's really scary that could all fit together. And the whole huge part of this is the diet. Like every cult, give them a vegan diet, water fast the crap out of these people, and in about a year, when I tell them that I'm Jesus, we can drink the Kool-Aid.
Well, I can't wait for us to go over the pyramid.
I'm waiting.
Yeah, the pyramid live stream, because when I explain to you what the true purpose of the pyramids actually were, you're going to be dumbfounded at how practical the purpose actually was, and how the pyramid is a perfect symbol for the system that you just described.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like the Freemason pyramid, but I'm talking about the function of the pyramid within the context that it was used. So yeah, I'm getting that information together, and we'll do that video soon. Yeah. Now that I've done this live stream, I know that I can operate this software.
It's easy, eh? It's a wonder. It's like super simple. I wanted to do this like 4 years ago. Because I had zero tech capacity besides Googling stuff and YouTube and stuff like that. And I used to always kind of be like, how I used to watch Primal Tristan Haggard there, Primal Edge Health a lot. That's what, he was big on popping things up and you talk. And I was like, man, I wish I could do videos like that. And I never heard of these things. And then all of a sudden, I think it was actually one thing I'm grateful for. I think OTW showed me this. I'm pretty sure. I think it was him first. And it's great because like before I was using KindMaster on my phone, and it's an app on the phone. You take screenshots, you crop, you can put the pictures, you can layer stuff, and it's great. But if I wanted to just talk about a topic like, oh, look at this article, I'd have to snapshot the articles, crop them, put them on, in line, and then do a voice over it, or if it, like I couldn't even look what I was doing while it was a mess, This stuff's great. So you think you're gonna purchase this? Because it's free, and it'll have that crest markup powered by StreamYard. But if you pay for the basic package, then you have unlimited amounts. I forget how many hours you're allowed per month. It's still cool. You can do it for free, but I enjoyed this one so much. I was like, oh, you know what? I paid the base price there, which I don't remember, but it's not very much. I forget how much it was.
Yeah, I think I'll pay for it and get the unlimited. Did you see this comment that's up on the screen right now?
I mean, the anti-exercise people, you recently mentioned the fatties, but what I've been consumed with is a promotion of avoiding, mainly in the carnivore community.
I had noticed that myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so weird how these movements just turn into like stupidity.
Well, that's why I think that, anytime you bring up the subject of professional influencers, everyone wants to call you a conspiracy theorist, but social media influencers is a very well-known profession, and they don't come out. No one who's a professional media and social media influencer comes out and says, "Hey, everybody, I'm a professional social media influencer." What they do is they come online, they present you with their personality, they present you with a perspective that is actually being molded and presented to them by the company or list of companies that they represent. And they do not tell you who they represent. They do not tell you why they're telling you the perspective that they're preaching, but they'll end up doing things like this. They'll end up taking the carnivore community off in a bad direction. When the carnivore community started, it was actually a spinoff of the paleo diet. The paleo diet was included seasonal fruits, roots, tubers, and then the corporate, all these corporations came in and started making different paleo diet bars, and it got all perverted. And
keto,
the social media influencers started promoting unhealthy things, and so then in order to get away from that, they moved over into, in fact, they started doing things like according to something I saw recently, Saladino is saying that honey could potentially, consuming like 100 grams of honey could potentially cure diabetes or be a diabetes remedy. Yeah. So this is what happens, is that these movements start moving off in the right direction because they're grassroots. And then all of a sudden you'll see these celebrity influencers move in on it, and they'll go in that direction. And you saw that with the carnivore community, where in the beginning it was all buy local, eat nose to tail, make sure you get organ meats in your diet. And then all of a sudden the celebrities moved in, and now they're saying, oh, just avoid organ meats. Don't exercise. Exercise is bad for you. And, or like even there's influencers in the anti-vegan community who expose vegan degeneration. But instead of offering start eating some organ meats, you're an ex-vegan, you need to recover, start promoting ultra-processed junk foods. and painting the idea of, if you're going to avoid Hostess cupcakes, that, whoa, that's a lot like veganism. You know, veganism is like a restrictive eating disorder. And if you start avoiding Hostess cupcakes, then that's a step towards another restrictive eating disorder. You need to just eat intuitively. In other words, if you want to eat it and you want to eat it now, then eat it now, because all restriction is bad. And
it's like a seafood diet, that joke, you know, when they say, I'm on a seafood diet, everything I see, I eat.
Yeah. And that's the diet that got a lot of people in trouble in the first place and moved them towards veganism. The ones that went to veganism for health, it was because they were eating the seafood diet, you know, the one that there was no restrictions. Just if you want a Hostess cupcake, go get a Hostess cupcake. If you want another one, get another one.
You know, if somebody's coming from, you know, unhealthy and used to, you know, whatever, smoke, don't have to be a smoker, but, you know, unhealthy. And then after they buy the lie about veganism, you know, being healthy. Damn it. What were you just saying? I just forgot the thought.
I was talking about avoiding ultra processed food is being painted as a restrictive eating disorder.
Yeah, Mia completely slipped my mind what I was saying. It was probably a lie then.
You probably need some methylcobalamin on your skin.
Yeah, I got the vegan brain fog, or I'm overdosing on these freaking Nicorette gums.
But
I remember
it's
Amazing Grace.
The fact that any grassroots movement that threatens the status quo and what they want, there will be an attempt to hijack it and take it in a bad direction. And so you can see that in the carnivore community. You can see certain individuals coming in inexplicably blowing up with popularity and steering people off in a bad direction, like you got to avoid organ meats, liver will kill you, don't exercise, deliberate exercise is dangerous. And these, in my opinion, are individuals who are being paid as influencers to steer the carnivore community in a direction that is not optimal health.
No, for sure. Yeah. We definitely have to do a response video on that movie that he sent there, the 30 minutes of torture that you sent me. That's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
There's so much probably that we forgot what was said on there. Yeah, it's good. We can do more streams on yours. You're always at mine, and there's no way like there's so many videos. If I knew how to send it, it's like, you know, like if you do one on mine, well then you just post it also on yours, you know, and it's like vice versa. There's something called Dropbox, but I don't know. I'm so tech stupid that I don't understand how it's probably as easy as dropping the big thing in the box and sending it. It's too complicated for me when it comes to technology. Yeah, there were some comments too that yeah, what did he mean? Where cannibalism is the real question. He didn't respond much more to it, right?
I don't think he responded.
What about cannibalism? Maybe he meant cannibalism. How is cannibalism? Oh, I'm sure maybe he doesn't know about autophagy and that it was quite natural for us to do that. It's because what I actually think is a lot of people will start the vegan diet and then they were eating so much crap that it's like a fast almost. You know, you probably do feel good for a year. Shit, people could start like fasting extensively if they're like really, you know, eczema and they're like super overweight and stuff. And you know, autophagy will probably benefit people because they've always been anabolic besides when they're sleeping. So it's like, yeah, some people like they went from such a crap diet to this like, you know, plant food, and some of them probably go like, yeah, I feel much better. It's like, okay, well, how long does it last? I have trouble believing it when somebody says that they've been vegan for 20 years and stuff like that. I've seen people get up to 8, right? If they're even being honest and not cheating in that respect. But I have a vegan friend. He was doing a lot of running, and he was doing good time, you know, like and he's older than me by maybe a good 6-7 years, and he was vegan, and it's the same thing. He's not active now. I'm not active, but I look at him, and he has a bloated belly, not fat, but you can see his belly's bloated, and I'm like, and then after you can see like gynecomastia that's developed. He did have it before, but I think it's worsened. And brain fog. He always says it, like, you know, like he's totally brain fogged, but he doesn't put 2 and 2 together. So I'm watching, I'm waiting, because he started it almost exactly the same time I started keto. So that's maybe like 4 years now. And I don't think that he knows much about nutrients, because what I see him eating, it's processed and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the video.
Yeah, I thought we would wrap things up here in a few minutes, but I would.
We'll keep this for the next live.
Well, what I want to do is give people a kind of a sneak peek at what we're going to be debunking in the future.
Yeah.
So let's play a minute or two of this, and then we'll have a closing statement, and then we'll go spend some time with our families.
Yeah, because I was giving it another 20 max there.
It's Arby's.
Waited too long. Let me.
Yeah. Just stop the screen share and let it play without volume.
Yeah.
We have to probably try and limit. It's just the conversation is always good. I'm going to try and start limiting it to an hour and a half, because I could, you know, if I do an hour and a half, I could do it like 3 times a week. You know, like, hey, Michelle, I'm just going to do an hour and a half. But if we do like live streams that last, 3 hours, and I think maybe if you have a good subscriber base, but especially me for a small channel there, if somebody looks and they see like, oh crap, like mine, 5 hours, they're less likely to watch it, you know?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Yep.
And that's why things like this are considered controversial. What we really are saying is we're face to face with something that is telling us we must change. And that creates discomfort in us, because ultimately we don't want to change. We want to stay where we are. We want to stay in our comfort zone. So that's what this issue is ultimately all about. Evolution always must take us out of our comfort zone and into unknown territories. So it is always controversial when proposing behavioral changes to people who have simply done these things in an unconscious state of mind their entire lives and been taught that it is okay and that there are justifications for these practices. We defined carnism last week as a dogmatic religion, moving on to slide number 9 now, as a dogmatic religion based entirely upon violence.
Carnism is a dogmatic religion based entirely on violence. And shooting animals in the face for getting too close to the corn and the soybeans and the tomatoes and the avocados and the oranges and the green beans and the spinach and the chard, that's not violence. That's just practicable.
And all the smaller animals, when the harvester comes by, the combine, they call it, or something, the chops up and stuff like that. Well, you had showed once there that it wasn't even a small animal. It was a frigging deer with the whole back sliced off, But they do intelligent testing on rats, and they're like, no, they're highly intelligent and stuff like that. So it's like, okay, well, and that's not like a dead in a few second thing. That's like, legs chopped off, crushed, mulch up. Definitely there's some crap practices, like the vegans like showing, the baby chickens that they throw into a grinder like this there. You've probably seen that a lot. It's like, okay, all right. So you have that. Well, let's stop doing that then. Problem solved. It's like, no. Oh, look, they're doing that to the chickens. I'm never eating animal food again. Okay. How about well, that's a shitty practice and maybe you shouldn't do that anymore. And I agree. It's like.
Well, the vegans will always say, well, the problem is that killing animals is not inherent in producing plants. And the truth is yes, it is. It always has been. There's always been death involved with growing plants. It's the way that, there is no plant that you can find here on this earth right now that can survive in the wild without the death of animals and the exploitation of animals. Every plant is going to exploit a dead animal. When an animal dies, what the buzzards don't eat will be left there to feed the surrounding foliage, and that's just the way it's designed. Maybe in the Garden of Eden it wasn't this way, but we don't live in that world, so we can stop even talking about it, because that world does not exist and it will never exist for us. The world that we live in,
current state,
the one where animals die, die, human beings die.
That's the reality.
And for plants, more animals have to die for plants than have to die to put meat on the table, and that's just a fact. I can kill one cow, and at today's consumption rate, it takes one individual 3.5 years to eat one cow. Meanwhile, one bowl of spinach might represent 10 dead animals. A grasshopper, a honeybee, a dung beetle, a rat, a vole, a squirrel. You can just name off all kinds of animals that easily could have died for one big bowl of spinach.
Not only died violently or slowly because of the poisons.
Like the anticoagulant rodenticides. They put these this is something that's like when people are eating fruit, like I was trying to explain to Bruce with the apple joke that we have going. And he should go to an apple orchard and he will see that they're using anticoagulant rodenticides, and they have these things they call bait stations, and they're a little box and it's got a little hole on each end just big enough for a vole or a field mouse to climb in and eat these anticoagulant rodenticides. And anticoagulant means that it makes your blood too thin so that your circulatory system becomes leaky, and it can't stop you start bleeding internally, and the bleeding goes on, and it can take 14, 15 days for one of these animals, and billions of them are killed.
It's like when I mentioned like you said, I'm like, okay, like think of my family, okay? The 12 chickens, Okay, perfect. So we have chickens. No death is happening there. Maybe we eat them, okay, at the end of the year, whatever. So now we have 12 deaths. I have one cow, okay. Now we're at 13 deaths. Let's say I have one pig, 14 death, one goat, just one of each. That's for my year. Like you said, you got fingers left over. And then after, the vegan will say, well, yeah, no one does that, or well, that's impossible, that can't be done, kind of thing. That was kind of the answer I felt that Jeffrey was giving when I was like, yeah, we should like do this and incorporate that together. And it was like no, like, okay, well, what we're trying to go to Mars, but we can't figure out how to make the freaking cows eat grass again. like what the hell, Yeah. Even if there, like I said, even if there was less in agriculture, even half of it, like there's double animals being killed for food, it doesn't matter the way they're dying. Even if there was just 20%, because it's like they're being slowly murdered or violently chopped off. It's horrible, And it's like, why don't you want to acknowledge that? Because if it's really about the animals, and somebody said, listen, okay, because how they like doing thought experiments, especially vegan gains and stuff. There, they come up with these weird. Okay, well, you're on another planet, and all of these like basically friggin' fantasies and stuff like that. Anyways, I'll keep it for the next time.
Yeah.
Let's call it a night.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. We'll set a date for this one. You want to do this one again on yours, or we can decide later.
Yeah, we can decide later. I need some practice, so it wouldn't hurt to have it here. And everyone, go subscribe to Jason John Swartz channel. Do you have?
Oh yeah, can I do? You want? Can we pop up? I'll just pop up my channel, and then we can end. Here, I'll present it. Share.
Oh, okay.
Tell me when it's up.
It's up.
Yeah. So the channel is just my name, Jason John Swartz. And I started this 4 years ago. So if you look at my oldest videos, it was when I had the channel. It was called Fast Keto Prime. So it was like all about intermittent fasting and keto primarily. So this one's a good one. You can share with people on the vegetable oils, how toxic they are. This one also is a good one. It's I go into the shopping center and I look at like the labels on all of the middle section and show that there's vegetable oil in every single one of them, and do a little bit about when I was doing, the carnivore diet. This one is a lot about the nutrient deficiencies, because I explain why it's ethical to eat animals, because it's unethical to create malnutrition in our species just for those benefits. Propaganda stuff. There's one of them is for Alzheimer's. There's this medication called Exona that they give to Alzheimer patients because it improves their cognition for mild to moderate Alzheimer's. And when you look at what it is, it's called Exona, but it's just ketones. So instead of telling them, so with Alzheimer's, your specific disease, you have glycated beta amyloid proteins that are deposited in the brain, killing it, and you're actually diabetic in your head. It means that you have insulin resistance. So those two aspects, if you do a ketogenic diet, and for Alzheimer's, what I would try as a Hail Mary would be extended fasts, because during an extended fast, you go into a catabolic state, which is not necessarily a bad state. And there's a process called autophagy that activates, and it's a self-cleaning and recycling mechanism. So if you do extended fasts, the best chance you got is this, because you might get those proteins in your brain eaten by your body because it needs whether calories or amino acids to build proteins and stuff like that. And by the fasting and a ketogenic diet, you can completely reverse the insulin resistance in your brain. And I think intermittent fasting would benefit the population, just to have a little bit of autophagy, just a tiny bit constantly happening at least. So here's carnivore, lots of stuff about vegan, hypocrisy, synthetic foods. These 2 episodes are one chapter each of nutrition and physical degeneration. And then I went silent for a while during the pandemic and stuff because I work in a hospital and I was busy. So I was doing my work channel. Then I became Christian. So I do have like some Christian content that I share with once in a while, but it's just because that's my name, Jason Swartz. So I'm going to share about myself, and my faith is included, but it's not just Christian content. And I'm looking up more now. I was aware that the World Economic and Bill Gates, kind of what they're doing, but I wanted to do some more in-depth research. So now I'm kind of doing a lot more stuff on the World Economic Forum, and JD's kind of tagging along with me and informing me of some stuff, because you seem to know. I'm just getting into like the depth of this conspiracy. I like to refer to JD as being at level 75 and now 76 recently. Congratulations, JD. And yeah. I'm at level 6, right? I started at 5. No, yeah, 6. Anyways, you need somebody at a higher level to give you the graduations and stuff. So this
you probably learned enough from me today to move up to level 7. So we'll give you 7? A 7.
Shit, I was thinking 10, but I'll take 7. Can we negotiate to 8, or it doesn't mean anything if I have to beg for it? Yeah, I'll take the 7.
Yeah, just be happy with what you got and keep working hard.
All right. Let's end with that. I like that. That's a good ending. All right, man. So we'll set up another time and decide where to do this response video to that 30-minute video that Jeffrey sent. Lots of content to talk about.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm out of here then. Thanks for inviting me to your channel. Hopefully you guys can come and see my channel. All right. See you, JD.
Good night, Jason. All right. Still have 8 watching. Okay. I'm going to go spend some time with my family. Sure appreciate y'all being here. Love you all, and good night.